It takes a very particular kind of idiot. Uh, it takes a very particular kind of idiot that I literally did not hit the stream button. Well, I guess I'm exactly on time. Maybe a minute late. Very sorry about that. I have a lot. We got a lot. I'm gonna have to move some stuff to the other screen. Please give me some time for that. I'm just gonna check which. That should be fine. Yeah, now we can actually do it. Yeah, it's going well. It's going well. I think I was incredibly stressed about doing a proper lecture and everything like that from Thursday onwards. So please believe me. We got a bunch of stuff to go through. Obviously, if I'm missing stuff, I can just pull out some of the literature. It's not that serious. Now, let me actually put everybody's chat on the sidebar so I can actually read this. One sec. Fantastic. This is also going to be the last stream, as I promised. I don't know what I promised. I'm just actually talking to the open air. We will have some stuff that is light, but also people ask for a proper cancer immunology lecture. So this is going to come. Hopefully I'll try and make it light enough that a general audience can enjoy it without getting overwhelmed. Hopefully at the same time I can make you internalize a couple of concepts which would be critical for the sake of understanding and what the state of the industry is. And then I can actually fucking go back to properly making videos. Goddamn. Maybe next time with dramatic readings, you know? I just want to also minimize streaming as much as possible because I feel that men who get into it too much will sacrifice in quality. With all that said, my bladder is filled, so please give me a second. Do I have a mixtape? Yeah, I probably have a mixtape here. Give me a sec. I'll be right back. Does this work? Oh, this works. Fuck yeah. Yeah, wait. I'll be right back. One sec.
Sasuke. I represent OGs, most awesome ninjas, Core Master Splinter, Autumn or Winter, pause to offend ya. I'm not QB, my claws they will injure, pause to remember. Some get the creeps when my blade is out because one cut dissects the lungs of a mouse. Yes, you gotta see me to know your face. Yes. That night, I don't sleep, I wait. Avenger ninja willing to shock ya. Leave the rest up to the doctor. Yes, I'm doing it proper. Sakura-chan's feeling to get knocked up. Following me just makes you obvious. 3 miles ago, you entered my consciousness. I'm soft and solid both at once. My touch is wrathful and majestic, cause I'm the best. Yes. An expert, a genius. I grow my skills in the flames of passion, yes. My grace will embrace the iris. I use my hands to touch the lightning. My name is Sasuke. My name is Sasuke. My name is Sasuke. The king of Sharingan, who am I? Sasuke! Who am I? Sasuke! Who am I? Sasuke! Who am I? Sasuke! Of all ninjas, I'm the most successful one. Summoning Beast K9 to cut the thumb. Leap off branch, slice leaf, cut wind. Pure excellence is my only sin. The scream of 1,000 birds is gory. Get chopped and chopped when I use Chidori. Sting them, please witness the king of Sharingan. One blink splits cells in an elephant. 6 blinks will implode brains of a mammal. I'm not evil, I'm not good. I surface earth as flesh and blood, but with a purpose. Following me just makes you obvious. 3 miles ago, you entered my consciousness. Soft and solid both at once. My touch is wrathful and majestic, cause I'm the best. Yes. An expert, a genius. I grow my skills in the flames of passion, yes. My grace will embrace the iris. I use my hands to touch the lightning. My name is Sasuke. My name is Sasuke. My name is Sasuke.
Good shit. Okay. Thank you for the diamonds. I really don't deserve this. Keep in mind, this is already fully funded. But I appreciate it greatly. I got a lot of other good shit on my fucking mixtape, but what the fuck is this? Sorry, I even get
Who's out here
confused.
having dinner?
I get confused by the memes I have on my desktop sometimes.
Those are those. Who's that great ape right there? Sugriva. Is it dinner time? Is it dinner time? Oh, I think it is. I think it is. Oh, what a big song. What a big song. Sugriva's got lots to say. He's out here cooking himself up a vegan hot dog. Sugriva will be live tomorrow night on his Chimp Dinner Live that'll happen at 8 p.m. on Sunday. He's just telling you all about it. Something you just have to see. He's just having himself a hot dog, and then he'll have some s'mores on the night safari out here.
Fucking people feeding a goddamn chimp vegan hot dogs. Fucking hell. Yeah, I know. This is practically bordering animal abuse. Alright, okay. What do we have for here? First, I gotta close my goddamn Photoshop because it's very hard to find all of these. Oh, can I show you what I got firstly? Like, let's start with like mild stuff. How do I get my knowledge about this subject? I went for MD. I transferred from MD into pharmaceutical research, got my bachelor's, and then I got my master's in immunology. But then I decided to shitpost online. It's good fun. What's good, eyes? Yeah. Honestly, it would be very nice at one point if I'd even have somebody ask me questions directly that they're not clear about, because I'm actually getting the impression quite a lot of the time now that a lot of the textbooks are really fucking behind in the medical profession. We've got like some kind of 20-year time lapse with what is considered state-of-the-art and novel, and what actually gets written in those textbooks, and what gets distributed to students. I'm passionate about both. I feel like I've done my contribution to the scientific community, but I am more of a talker rather than an actual doer. I would recommend absolutely everyone to go get an education before you do whatever you do. Because once you get the education, or you toil in your life, everything else will seem a lot easier. Because, you know, like I talk about this with Uber Danger sometimes. It's like really funny. Like you hear a lot of kids who are saying like, I can't handle the internet. I'm having a mental breakdown. I can't deal with the shit that keeps popping up. I see my Twitter feed and I'm going to have a mental breakdown. It's like, have you ever worked corporate? Have you ever worked corporate or like lasted in corporate? Because anything compared to that, and anything compared in the real world to working online, I'm sorry, working online is a far more relaxing position to be in. Anyway, I got fucking desktop Ricardo. Look at this shit. I was very, very happy when somebody showed this to me.
Dark fantasies.
Take it, boy. Fuck you.
Deep dark fantasies.
Tell me about my encounter with the goddamn man known as Albino. Yeah, he let us pop by his place when we landed over here in this country. All I know is that Albino gets very, very animated and very upset as soon as he starts losing in Smash.
Take it, boy. Fuck you.
I wonder if I can scale this. Apparently
Dark
not.
fantasies.
No. I'm not suggesting drinking alcohol in any high portions. I'm just saying that it was interesting that you're getting a net anti-inflammatory response with low amounts of alcohol. You're not going to get that with high amounts of alcohol. Oh, I'm probably not going to be remembering... Sorry, I have to close it. Wait, one sec. What was that? Oh, yeah. I have sympathies for your dad working HR in the banks. I'll tell you about a company that I will not name. That was a company of one of my parents. They had very high salaries, and they were doing international work. But you know, like when layoffs come and you have to give severance because that would be European law. One thing that they'd really like to do is if they stress you out enough, they can basically just say that, oh, you left by your own volition and we don't have to do severance. So yeah, legit, in one of my parents' offices, we had a guy jump. He just jumped because he couldn't take the stress, which they intentionally put on him. God bless the corporate system. I think I missed one of the questions. I'm very, very sorry. And thank you. Also, yes, I am diagnosed with ADHD, and I do take Ritalin. It's about 7 years now, since I went from being a student that's on the border of failure to... I literally turned it around. I was about a 1% off from a cum laude in my bachelor's, and then I practically graduated with nice marks. Yeah, you can absolutely ask questions about the slides. Also, I got quite lucky because, from my understanding, people get prescribed ADHD medication and Ritalin very early, especially in the U.S., especially if they believe that any kind of abnormality in a child's behavior would mean that they have ADD or ADHD. And I think that's absolutely fucked. I absolutely think... what should you do? Go to a psychiatrist and don't lie. I can tell you a funny story in regards to that. I don't know if I told it last stream. Uber Danger had a friend in Denmark, and he tried to scam the medical community. And he tried to go to a psychiatrist, and he basically read the, let's say, Mayo Clinic descriptions of what does it mean to be ADHD. So he went to the psychiatrist. This woman is looking at him, analyzing him, and he just keeps darting his neck, like... just trying to follow a structure of what he thinks stereotypically an ADHD kid does. And they stepped out, came back in. Apparently, like, they had a lot of talks in private. And then they come back for this kid, and they said, well, you don't have ADHD. You read the symptoms of it. But you also, you are now mandated by Danish law. Otherwise, you'll pay a fine to be treated for compulsive lying disorder. So you had to attend that shit. Sorry, some of these questions get missed. I'll try and explain things in as much detail as possible. And I don't also support childhood antidepressants. I don't support SSRIs in general because very often when we're looking at what are the causes, these are environmental causes. We were talking about this with my friend group in general that, we have a millennial generation. Now we've got the Zoomers, and like, no offense to the Zoomers, but they've got a really hard time. They start off on the internet very fucking early. And do you think there's a coincidence that now the prescriptions of antidepressants and people just being sad in general is much higher? Oh, I felt like an ineffectual piece of shit without my medication. I had a very difficult time getting anything done. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Benzodiazepine withdrawal. Oh, honestly, for benzo withdrawal, it works with most psychosomatics and everything. Go do high impact exercise for about 3 days. 3 days, do a lot of exercise until you're practically sweating, until you practically can't move. That should reset your brain chemistry, so your withdrawal effect should be not too bad. Is Holocaust denial a mental disorder? Life is fine with me years later on. Um, I for the anti-inflammatory effects with drinking, just 1 unit of alcohol. I don't think there's any better effects. And I'm supporting ADHD meds or getting tested for it as an adult because I got tested for it about 20 or 21. I think that's absolutely fine. Your brain has already developed neurologically. So if you're really struggling with academics, you should get investigated. Especially so because I see a lot of men don't go into academics because they keep saying, I'm not built for this. I'm not built for studying in an academic setting and focusing on one thing at a time. That's absolutely fine. I think the research papers already showed men have a much higher distribution with ADHD compared to women. They're also much more likely to not seek any help because they'll just think, "Oh, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm retarded." Oh, I read about resveratrol, but once again, it's a little bit too much to jump to conclusions. Oh, how bad is alcohol for kids? I think I'm gonna crabs. I'm not gonna say which question that is, but I'll be real with you for like a second. I can tell you like cancer advice. I can tell you like shit about antidepressants, and I can talk shit about the establishment and so on. There are a couple of questions that I think anybody in the profession will just not argue because it's just it's too politicized. Would you rather work in corporate or in the public sector? Don't know. So in public sector, you get a lot of very nice research that actually comes out. They don't have big budgets. They have really good ideas. And then the problem is, even if you come up with something very good in your PhD, let's say, you don't have money, you don't have a capital, and you don't have a company behind you to actually make that useful. So at the end of the day, private is going to be more relevant because that's actually going to bring something to the market. It is true that in some situations, the public-funded institutions actually do pretty good. But I don't know. It's all private. Favorite part of a job? I guess penning all of your thoughts. It's nice. Of course, radiation can increase your chances of getting cancer. But radiation therapy can also increase your chances of getting cancer. Yeah, I do it full time. I just liked it. I was very afraid of it at the beginning, but all I remember is that I liked it. And also previously, I was employed in a corporate sector that was a bit further from what I graduated with because, to be honest, there's not as many immunological positions. It is getting better, but hey, you may as well use your talents. And my talents are with speaking. Even when I worked with vaccines, I was primarily public relations and public speaker man. There is a company which shall not be named, but which may or may not be owned by Johnson and Johnson, which still has quite a lot of their training material done by me. And I found out at some point that one of my the manager who hired me for that position, yeah, he fucking knows that I do YouTube. He was like, wait, these voices sound way too similar. Hey, are you? There's no way. Chronic myeloid leukemia. I don't know much to say about that. We had a friend who passed away from leukemia. It wasn't myeloid. But it is harsh. You know, who has done the kinds of immunology you recommend? I will be talking about case examples of people who've gone through these therapies. I have limited. Okay, you know. So here's the thing. I'm technically breaking protocol here, but I'm not in the research community, so it's kind of limited what kind of impact that happens. But technically, I don't have the names of the patients already, but I can already tell you that these are verified patients. It's just that their name has been scrubbed, and I don't get to see that on my side. But I know that this is a recorded case, and I know that they've actually gone through the therapy. Oh yeah, it's 5 p.m. around the European time zone. Chronic kidney disease. It's a terrible disease. Holy shit! It's to help prevent cancer. Any vegetable or spices, honestly, omega-free. It seems like omega-3 has quite a big impact on it. Doing every day to be in perfect health for the rest of one's life. Go exercise and go do high-impact exercise. There's limited information, and when I told about this the last time when I was streaming, it was circumstantial evidence. Because simply we did not do the studies in that kind of regard. We were thinking that athletes who did long distance endurance exercise would be the healthy ones. Now we know that it's actually like anything high impact that promotes, you know, metabolism of a muscle and growth rather than the catabolism is generally quite helpful for you. I think if testicular cancer, yeah, of course you should get it checked out. I'll try. The mega free is so good. Yeah, you can, yeah, of course, absolutely, toxic fumes. Because with toxic fumes, even if they are not directly carcinogenic, what you can do is you're going to be shredding the alveoli. So you're going to have a bigger surface area for the exchange. I do not use any drugs outside of alcohol. I do nicotine. That's it. How dangerous is overdosing on zinc? So far, I don't think so. The only thing that it seems to interfere with is copper metabolism. But copper we get so much in our food source that you can't really get fucked up too much. The fit pill is probably the secret against cancer. I mean, okay, you can. This is another circumstantial evidence. You can look at Arnie. You can look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Through anabolic steroids, yes, he had a bigger risk for heart disease, and he has multiple heart operations. But if you're looking at him in terms of transformed cell growths, he has not been subject to that. No, I just have a nicotine addiction, and I'm just preventing the withdrawal. We all have our weaknesses. High impact exercise. I don't know. Fucking do squats. Do shit that will make you pumped. Arbite carbon monoxide leak. The UK medical system is just going to get worse. But this is entirely a political move because they wanted to defund the NHS for a long time, and they just want to make people desperate, and then they're gonna do. Oh no, strength training is absolutely good for that. I'm gonna say this. If you want to just say what I mean by high impact, stuff that builds muscle, the more lean muscle mass you have, the better you're going to be prepared against cancers. Do you still keep yourself up to date, or do you just not? I keep myself up to date. I tell people about the, what's top of the line research, and I'm not swole, but I guess I'm an otter or something. Intermittent fasting is incredibly much better than low calorific diets, but that's mainly to do with the metabolism. I actually say, please don't do low calorie diets. You are probably going to end up regaining that weight. Is outlawed? Do you know any analogs? I know atomoxetin. There is also something you can get, which is okay. Let me try and help. There's also. Sorry, my articles are just going to be covering your chat. There is phenylparacetam, but I would say please be very careful with it. This is the same stuff they gave to Russian cosmonauts to calm down. It is technically a nootropic. You can get it legally because it's in the gray area. I smoke no cigarettes. I got out of smoking recently. I'm just taking like the nicotine directly. Clinical depression actually mean? Well, with clinical depression, we would say that a patient is... it's almost that it's a neurochemical disbalance that has happened from the very beginning. I've met a couple of people who would say that, if somebody went through their teenage years and they had like a lot of hard times, a lot of stress, environmental and so on, and between 16 and 18, and they said, I got depression. I would say that is environmental. That's not clinical. Clinical, that's if a kid comes in at 3 and says they're sad. Then they come in at 6 and they said that they're sad. And then they come in at 10 and then they say like, I don't know what feelings are, pretty much. I think a pharmacist is fine. But the problem that happened was we had an overtraining of people, once again, let's say in the U.S., for the law field. Then you had too many lawyers. But now you have like this thing that everybody became for a pharmacist because they thought it was a safe career. I think pharmacy, I think they called it the... Wait. Yeah. I mean, there's too many pharmacists being trained, unfortunately. Coronavirus vaccine. I'll tell you right now. Before COVID-19, we had something else. We had SARS. Before we had, and also we had MERS. We didn't come up with a vaccine back then. How would you rate high-intensity running versus weightlifting? I think they're both good because you're hitting different muscle groups anyway. Anti-anxiety medication for sleep. I think it's fine, but I'm going to just recommend you to do a low dose because we took some anti-anxiety stuff. L-theanine works quite good, but what I would say is put like a low dose. Like we got 400 milligrams, try 100 milligrams. That can help you sleep. Also, another thing that people seem to get wrong with melatonin. I get this thing a lot with people who are lay persons. Like they just see what could be purchased in the stores. So if you buy melatonin, I think some of the dosings are okay. But if you're taking too much melatonin, it's going to do the inverse of actually making your sleep any better. Like, I think the studies actually showed that there is no increase in efficacy for melatonin from 0.3 grams. Well, let's see the sleep latency study. I think I think this was the one, or this one. Essentially, they said 0.3 to 1 milligrams for melatonin. That can help you. If you're going over that, it's going to have the opposite effect. Take on corona patients developing acute respiratory distress syndrome, but responding to proning. Wait, sorry, I'm really out of it. Yeah. I don't know, because aren't they kept in a prone position anyway? Oh, if you want a career in biology, by the way, I think immunology is just fine. I think biochemists, they had like a big hit in their industry, unfortunately. Prescribe me 10 milligrams. Yeah. Please check on that stuff. They just do whatever they're told, pretty much. Tryptophan. I mean, I've heard about tryptophan. The concept is that it's going to make more serotonin because it's an endogenous precursor. But on the other hand, you know, your neurotransmitters, they're at different levels for a reason. If you have a low level of like some neurotransmitters, if you supplement, yeah, sure, it could help. Oh yeah, I've heard about phenibut and so on. I would honestly say you can try nootropics, but it's gonna be not the same thing as something that's actually prescribed. How do you find studying medicine? I do biochem, feels full of thousands of things you have to learn by heart. Yeah, wait, are you in biochem? Oh yeah, my biochem brother. If you're doing organic chemistry and so on, I completely relate. I think organic chemistry 2 and 3 were probably like some of the dumbest things I had to go through in my life. I think we had a professor from Canada, and he pretty much just said, like, yeah, forget about the fucking theory. Like, the steric hindrance and everything like that, all the shielding groups, don't worry about it. Because it sometimes just doesn't even follow that. Yeah. The hell is going on here? Become a pharmacist calling. I got ADHD now. Quit addiction, Polish Tatar ice cream. What do you think? Why are you donating? If you've been smoking a pack a day, I actually would just say don't listen to the cold turkey advice. You need to taper down, and then when you can get to maybe 3 cigarettes a day, try and switch to just synthetic nicotine. You should be fine then. Any drugs to reduce man tits? No, I only know how to induce man tits. I can tell you something interesting, because most of the people in this call are male. It's really interesting? Tea tree oil. Back in the day, I used to care a lot about clearing away acne. And tea tree oil is really good at it. It's actually as good as benzoyl peroxide and everything like that. No, not benzoyl peroxide. Is it benzoyl peroxide? I'm probably right, but maybe not. Yes. Tea tree oil is really good at that. But on the other hand, let me see if I could actually find that exact study. NCBI, gynecomastia. It was a case study that, where is it? I think they had it. Oh, they don't have the exact abstract. Okay, yeah. I think this happened in Australia. I forgot. So essentially, tea tree oil, it has something that mimics estrogen. you could think of it in a similar way as with like soy. Some men do actually respond to soy lecithin because it is a phytoestrogen, and even though it's a xenomolecule, it may still be held by some people's bodies. So the interesting thing was here, these boys just had like tea tree oil applied to them, like as an antiseptic. They just basically developed bitch tits. It's terrible. It's very upsetting. Please also don't take the Coomer memes so seriously. I could actually probably just say this once and for all very non-authoritatively, but take it with a grain of salt. It's true that your free testosterone increases when you have not ejaculated from masturbation. This is true. However, do you know what happens? It peaks after 3 days. There is no difference after 3 days. At the same time, you can actually also argue that do you want high testosterone that's free in the blood? Is it actually doing stuff? People don't ask that question. Are you going to get something useful from that? Yes, you should not deplete your dopamine reserves by over masturbating, of course, but at the same time, there's not much harm from that. Well, I mean that's it. That's it. I saw, and here's the thing. I think there have been studies on that. In regards to training, if it helps with focus, yeah, go for it. Fasting ain't shit. And I don't even get hungry for 18 hours. Yeah, legit. I gotta say, like, for if people want to actually get rid of obesity or something that bad, really, please try intermittent fasting. Because what's happening with obesity, I wonder if there's a diagram of that. Obese stomach expansion. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I wish I could actually get an internal diagram. But essentially with intermittent fasting, what the fuck, man? I didn't expect this shit. Okay, but with obesity, essentially your stomach has expanded because it's got such a large volume of food. If you, this is what I was actually talking about. If you perform intermittent fasting, the distension of your stomach should reduce, and that will help you actually keep that weight off. Anyhow. And if you want a definition of intermittent fasting, just you don't eat breakfast. Just try and wait until about 3 p.m. in the day. Yeah. Anyhow, shall I show some fucking games before we actually dietary systems like Nutri-System? Residence for an immigrant. I think that's an immigrant. Oh, right. Wait. Internal. Are you internal medicine? I'll be honest, Eyes. I don't know what's going to be happening in the goddamn job market. So, basically, the word on the streets before I got out of the UK, I essentially told that to my GP, and he was like, yeah, everybody's bouncing. Absolutely everybody who has options is fucking bouncing out of the UK. If you want, if you're adaptable, yeah. Oh, you want ortho. Oh. Brief synopsis of your medical credentials. I am not licensed to actually perform surgeries. I do not actually have the Doctor of Medicine. I got the Bachelor, and then I've got the Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Research, and then I've got the Master of Immunology. I am licensed to give advice. You know, I may as well actually confess to this because it's actually been so far that it's fine. I'm not in the profession. I don't plan to get back into it. One of our merchants, we kind of under the table treated one of the merchants, and it worked for a while, but obviously it's self administration, and it did also get scary because I can't expect the patient to always know how to react to any kind of side effects, or if I miscommunicate a single thing, that could be not very good. I'll give you a good summary. I'll give you a very good summary. It was no one will know who this is. Don't worry about it. Essentially, because I'm an immunologist and I like the theoretical, this was a merchant in the United States. His name will not be told. He has an autoimmune condition that makes him have chronic pain, and he was willing to do anything. And I told him that, well, actually, one of the things that you can do is you can potentiate and modulate autoimmunity, because you can prime the immune response and dampen it. Essentially, if you want a very, very basic summary, if you have a febrile fever, one of the positive effects is actually you get a reduction of pain if you have something like arthritis. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's try it. So what do? Oh, yeah, we inject low-dose vaccinations locally into the sites of most pain. Couldn't get the human stuff because, of course, that would require a form, and I'd have to put my name there. But it was actually quite easy to get veterinary supplies. So I think he actually got I think it was a BCG vaccine. Is that for horses? So yes. No, I'm not. Don't worry. This will not hurt my credentials. But of course, I told him to do this with caution. But this was also the US, and he said, there is literally no doctor that wants to give me opioids because they think that my condition is psychosomatic and it does not have a physical component, so I'm not going to get pain relief. So I said, yes, in theory, this is what you could do. Next time I talk to him, he's already got the stuff. He's got a syringe, and he's got somebody to help out with it. And yeah, it worked. But then I just got concerned because I told him repeatedly to show me how the injection site looks. Essentially, what would happen is you inject a small dose of this vaccine, and this is concepts I'm going to talk about in the lecture that will just come. I may as well just give you a big primer on it. So, what is a vaccine composed of? Normally, you have the components, vaccine composition. Okay. Let me give immunology damp pamp. Let me see if I can get that. Yes. Okay. So essentially, most of the time, a vaccine does not have any living cell in there, and it could be, let's say, instead of giving a virus or a bacteria that is viable, that has been down modulated, it is much safer to give the thing that is already destroyed. Now, when the thing is already destroyed, we can cut it up into pieces, and then we give that solution to the patient. Now, you have two acronyms I want you to understand. PAMPs over here, that is a pathogen-associated molecular pattern. Essentially, little pieces of a pathogen that could be identified by the immune system. And then you have DAMPs, which are damage-associated molecular patterns. What you're doing and why you have an inflammatory response when you inject a vaccine, and what actually helps it get helps you get immunized and keep that memory later on, is the inflammation you get from these sequences. So essentially, that's all we did. And no, he did not get sepsis. He did not get anything too severe. But it was working for a while. He said he actually got pretty good pain relief from that because it temporarily alleviated all the arthritic symptoms. Unfortunately, I think what happened is he was injecting into the knee, as was the recommendation. I think one time he may have injected into the knee, maybe gone a little bit deeper, and then the tissue was swelling a little bit. And you know, if a tissue is swelling even 1 or 2 centimeters, I was like, you know, well, let's be safe here. Like this is, you can get an immune rejection. You can get an immune injection reaction. But I still did not want to take the chance. So I think he got temporary relief, but it was unfortunate that we can't really continue that. If I was local, if I was in the U.S., yes, I could have done that under supervision. But no, it wasn't rheumatoid arthritis, but it was an interesting disease. Yeah. Hematoma, as you were saying. The thing was, he could have gone under the fat layer. That could have actually happened. Immunizations and inoculations. Well, with an immunization, your goal is to have a memory response, an adaptive memory response in the future against an agent. An inoculation, you could be giving yourself some bacterial viral fragments because you want to simulate an immune response for some reason, and there is reasons for it. Where can we reach you for treatment options? I swear to God, just message me on my business email. I respond as often as I can. I'm a medical malpractice lawyer. Oh, no. It's fine with medical malpractice. We just have to sign the waiver and the release, of course. Biomedical engineer. Good stuff. If you want to gain weight, Alanutu, you know this is actually terrible advice, and I don't actually like it. You can literally try cannabis. You may just try cannabis because it is going to promote your appetite very hugely. Phlebotomist here. Yeah. It's like, I also don't know what kind of syringe they're doing. I don't know what the grading of that fucking syringe is. Smoke for green, eat more. Oh. What about balding? I'll be honest, like a lot of people really want to promote testosterone. Another thing men should consider is you can have a testosterone disbalance. That could be a big cause of balding early on. How do you tell if something is a melanoma? The melanoma should be quite granular, and it should be blue-black. And if you're looking at it, you should be able to see a thin vascular structure. It should also be raised, and it should also be atypical. It would not be like a normal cylindrical mole. What do you think about CRISPR? I think CRISPR has like a lot of potential, but frontal lobotomies. I think CRISPR has a lot of potential, but it's like there's a fuck ton of difficulties there. What was that? Frontal lobotomies. I'll be honest, like, can I give like a little bit of a history thing? We still used to be thinking that frontal lobotomies were fine in the psych field up until the 1960s. How many languages can I speak? I can understand... Let me think. I can understand... Yeah, I can understand about 3 languages. I can't really say which ones. Bioinformatics is a very big field because essentially you can... Can I be honest for a second? Because you asked about it. In the Netherlands, we had to... we only had about 2 bioinformatics boys in the building, and most of those would actually get a PhD. Bioinformatics is very much in demand, and you're actually... Well, I was thinking in the pause. Like, which ones could I actually say authoritatively? If I said some shit that I don't actually understand. The best possible way to lose weight. I don't know, intermittent fasting. You could also try smoking. What's your opinion on how the World Health Organization handled COVID? You know what's weird? I was actually talking about this. I think the World Health Organization is fine, but I think they had like kind of a gag order from China. I have no disrespect for the Chinese administration and everything like that. I have only love for the CCP. However, I will tell you this as somebody from a medical background. Why is it that we very quickly got a genome sequence out of COVID-19? And that was it. That was the final statement. There was no further investigations. There was no further investigations about the origins. And you know what was very strange to me? We've got a genome sequencing. You know the first thing that I would ask for from the World Health Organization? Can you please do more genome sequencing? Like, you told me you've got a sequence of that shit. Okay, I saw it. I genuinely believe that COVID-19 was a sporadic mutant that did actually mutate from some strains that they proposed. However, now that we know, now that like more sequencing has been done, we know that there's different strains across the world. Why was that not actually considered at the very beginning? If China was the origin point, then there was already different strains. Like, that's what I criticize with the World Health Organization, that they just got gagged and then they did nothing. Because now we know that there's not only can we talk about like the different measures that countries have, it seems that based on your latitudes, you might be having different strains of a COVID-19, which would lend itself to being less lethal, perhaps. The Middle East is not doing too great. Africa seems to be doing all right, if her numbers could be accurate. I mean, if it was man-made, what do we do? Any Adderall alternative? Just take methylphenidate. I don't even take Adderall. Sterilize medical equipment without an autoclave. I'd say sterilize it with a fucking autoclave anyway. You could emulate an autoclave, but you're just going to be introducing infections into that. It depends what you're doing. If you're doing something that's like you're working with qPCR and shit like that, yeah, you gotta have an autoclave, because anything that your hands have touched, it's going to be pretty terrible. Oh, eyes, if you're from Yemen, don't go into the UK. The situation is just going to get worse, because already they don't like foreigners. Imagine how bad it's going to be in the future. I already recommended this to a lot of other people, especially friends from Israel. I told them go study in a place that's a little bit more civil. I think Germany, Austria, they've got some good facilities to go to. Medically, do 5G towers fuck us up? No evidence of it so far. But it's more intense waves. What do you know about studying medicine in Poland? You should ask my Cypriot friend. Shout out to my man Sadistic. I am so sorry that you still have to attend Łódź University. Yeah. I say Germany. Russia is not going to have a very good political situation. It's not nice. My Discord is not public. Have you realized? Have you realized that I would not do that? It's basically the merchants manipulating people into thinking that there's another Discord so they can mess with them. Do you think the viruses will continue to come out of China? It's possible, because we've already said like there's another strain of swine. By the way, can I just say like one story? I'm sorry for interrupting all of this. Can I show you like the funniest story recently? I know we've got a new strain of swine flu coming out potentially, but I just want to read this out. Teenage boy dies of bubonic plague in Mongolia after eating marmot. 2 others being treated with antibiotics after death, a 15-year-old health ministry says. It's a fucking terrible story. But like, while the fucking swine flu was happening, while there was more strains of COVID-19, fucking free Mongolian teenagers go out there in the woods, kill a fucking marmot, skin it, eat it, and get sick. So the 2 other people are okay, it seems. Ah, God bless them. Yeah, and I think there's swine flu strain. I think there's the G4 swine flu strain. Yeah, and they were saying it has pandemic potential. They already noticed it in herds. Yeah, enjoy that. It's no joke. Actually, it's very strange, but this came up as a subject with my mother. My mother like told me today, it's like, you know what? We really should stop eating bush meat. And I was like, yeah, but can't really tell people to stop like cooking and eating monkeys and random simians. They're gonna do it anyway. But legit. I think quite a lot of incidences of very strange diseases that would crop up. That's usually bush meat. Oh, you already had a client sue for malpractice? Jesus Christ. I heard something very harsh. I won't reveal your name here because I'm going to protect you. Don't worry. One of my friends in South Europe, he actually said, because he works in emergency medicine, he's emergency room and shit like that. They started doing at his local hospital that if somebody's medically obese and they have to present into the emergency room, they would delay it as much as possible, hoping that they die outside. And the very simple reason for that is, it sounds terrible. It sounds very inhumane, but very typically, they die just inside the facilities, and then the family immediately sues for inappropriate or inadequate facilities. That's why they're trying to avoid even having those patients. Oh yeah, Eyes. If you want to do a scholarship, you can apply for as many as you can in Europe. I think they give some good ones. I think Jordan might stay very politically stable, so it might be a nice option. Where do you get your news from? I'm looking for a good source. I have no idea. I've been asked that as well. Like, how are we meant to get good information? How do we get information that is not washed by journalists who have no idea? But I would recommend NCBI if you want to read about general biological sciences and so on. A lot of journals are now going completely public, so you don't need the subscription. But we found ways of pirating that shit anyway. Was that in Italia? Nah. Engineering is good. Try engineering. It's a good profession. Might you recommend for plane travel? I actually try and avoid it as much as possible, but yeah, I guess wear the mask. Yeah. At what age? We had a diabetic client who died from it and family sued. What the fuck? Yeah, I hate it. I'm thinking like more and more hospitals are just trying to avoid their legal liability. It's getting too out of hand. How do I proper when wiping my ass to avoid damage to my ass? Just use sandpaper. I'd say so far the research doesn't say that vaping has anything. I could actually say this if anybody does actually want to get rid of their tobacco usage. So far, we unless you're heating it to a very, very high temperature and you're putting the wattage or the ohmage, the resistance on vapes artificially, very, very high, it does not seem that there is harm from the vapes. However, if you are going above this wattage, what can actually happen is you're transforming that polyethylene glycol and the vegetable glycerine into some kind of byproduct that could have carcinogenic potential. That's it. Is there any hope for curing prion diseases? I don't know. I actually have no idea. I think the approach would actually have to be something else which also represents a prion, but it does not fold it that way. I mean, technically, heat shock proteins act like prions. They're folding. They're meant to keep proteins folding properly. How to cure swamp ass? What are your thoughts, people? Medical analytics? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Everyone is getting fucked from MDs and everyone in between. Yeah, that's the thing. They're probably going to even have to give pardons for people. What'd you say? It was correlation from tainted bushmeat and high industrial pollution. Yeah, it's possible. That's absolutely possible. Ever thought of being a teacher? I might do fun lectures sometime in public as well. That's about it. I just like the public speaking. That's it. No, Endo. You will not be refused treatment. I'm just saying that there are people who are scalping the system and making kind of a mockery and putting it back for the people that actually need help. Prolonged fasting? I think it's fine. What's your thoughts on coming out and saying we're not going back to... What the fuck? Well, you might not have to deal with clinical depression for the rest of your life. If they do like a good investigation of your neurochemicals, maybe they'll find out that just something is not secreting as much. Maybe you just don't have enough concentrations. It's possible. What the heck is that? Ah! Sorry, I'm clicking stuff completely wrong. I believe I read about this man. I actually got to go read about him like later on. Yeah, thank you for that. Is hair transplantation a good and long-term solution? No, because if the androgenic effects that made the hair stalk fall out in the first place happened, the problem with the hair transplantation then is it's only a matter of time before the androgenic effects will spit out the hair root again. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry for the tabs. I just wanted to say, because a lot of people asked about COVID-19, just to reiterate, with Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome and SARS, we also did not make a vaccine. That's just because coronaviruses don't work in a traditional fashion. So I'm very sorry. I don't really think COVID-19 would have a traditional vaccination, or it would have to not be in the same way. We can't do the same kind of injection for it. Oh yeah. I'm sorry to hear about Nurse, but on the other hand, it's like, do you want to be a hero for one person and lose your job, or do you want to keep your head down and you might potentially save more people? That's a very difficult ethical question. I mean, like the talk of vaccines is also could be like power flexing. Why do I have both ad block and you block? Wait, 1 sec. I'm gonna get water, and I've kept you guys way too long. Let's just do the fucking lecture, and then we can actually fucking talk about video games for a change. Of course you can use prions as weapons. I guess you could technically just inject it. You know what they say when mad cow disease actually appeared in the UK because they were using the brain stems of cows. Also, thank you for the diamonds. I don't fucking deserve this. Stop it. But thank you. It's when it first appeared. What's very interesting is some people did immediately get the prion disease. The other thing that happened was like it was detected that prions are in their system, they're in the brain matter, but they don't seem to be doing anything. So some people could actually get the Creutzfeldt-Jacobs or mad cow disease later on after eating that. It could technically stay dormant indefinitely. Am I into weird shit? Nah. That is not my domain. Patellofemoral pain syndrome. You could try I would not honestly be able to give a comment on that. I'm very sorry. Sympathy hypnosis is a valid treatment. You know what? It's gone on for too long. Question: how bad is nicotine for you? Yeah, thank you, Cephas Daddy. I can answer that very quickly because I actually saw this as a little disclaimer on a pack of nicotine that it said like nicotine has no clinical benefits. Okay, let me just find you an article. Nicotine post-surgery. Wait. I can't find the exact one. Essentially, what they are doing is nicotine has some quite potentiating effects on the nicotine receptors. Nicotine itself does not have any carcinogenic potential. But what's very interesting, they used it for people who went through heavy surgeries, and you usually give those patients as much opioids as they want. You know, they can just take it from a table, they can get high, and they'll fall asleep. And they found that if you give them the option of also taking nicotine, they practically have to consume about half the opioids. Nicotine has a synergistic effect with, I don't know exactly how, but it's apparently the opiate receptors, or it might be actually bonding to the chemicals themselves, might stay in the system for longer before it gets excreted. So it's synergistic. It's actually quite useful for pain relief. I would even actually say for people who have chronic pain, let's say from rheumatoid arthritis and so on, it might actually be quite useful. Ah, cool. Okay, shall we? How bad is sugar-free colas? I would say the main thing that you're going to be looking out for. Let me see if I can. I'm looking for things completely wrong. I don't know if I can actually do it. So I can't find the exact article. I'm very, very sorry. Aspartame and all these sweeteners, they are quite thoroughly tested. I am not too worried about that. However, one thing I can say about sweeteners, before I get into the other part of sugar-free colas, is that even though aspartame has no calories, it does appear that some of these sweeteners, and including aspartame, I'll see if I can find it. Artificial sweetener. What is it? Insulin. Yes. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. It's very handy that it even selects it for me in the article. You can have it for yourselves. Even though it does not have any calories, let's say the aspartame and so on, the artificial sweeteners taste sweet. it sends a signal to the pancreas that it must release insulin. Insulin gets produced, but there is no sugar. As a result, there's free-floating insulin that goes into the cells to try and help them go through the process of actual respiration and using the sugar from the blood. That creates insulin resistance. When you have insulin resistance, that is type 2 diabetes. So you can actually induce type 2 diabetes even with a sugar-free cola. Yeah. They do cause they can cause long-term damage. For the carbonic acid, on the other hand, it's as long as you're diluting that about 1-to-1 with normal water, you will be fine. So the biggest issue is the carbonic acid. It will give you more of an appetite, but the other thing is it can go directly to the kidney. You've got a high concentration of this acid that can then calcify. The calcification of this will eventually lead to a kidney stone. If you're lucky, you pass that through your urinary tract. If you're unlucky, it's jammed and it's going to hurt like hell. But as long as you're consuming enough fluids, normal fluids, it just has to be water, you will not be at that risk. And I want to I was criticized for this viewpoint previously because I think a medical doctor in the Netherlands just said, like, what if I'm doing a cause and effect relationship the other way around? So you get type 2 diabetes. That is you have insulin resistance. Your insulin receptors are not actually very sensitive, but we believe that that's it. That's it, and it's fine. It's not type 1 diabetes because you're born with type 1 diabetes, right? It does not seem to be the case. The islet cells in the pancreas, which are actually producing the insulin, there is evidence when you go into type 2 diabetes, there's evidence of an autoimmune attack when you get to a status of insulin resistance. We're not sure exactly why that happens. I was just thinking that naturally this is going to get into that state, but I've also been told that maybe the people who have a risk for the type 2 diabetes, they already may be obese, and then you would have a chronic low-level inflammatory state. That low-level inflammatory state would prime immune cells to attack in situations where it would normally leave things alone. So you could slowly expect that a patient can actually go from type 2 to type 1. So be careful about that. It's better to resolve it early. And I heard some people saying about insulin spikes. No. I know that you're thinking I'm mixing type 2 with type 1. That's my thing. In type 1, you no longer make insulin. What I'm saying is, in type 2, there's evidence of an autoimmune attack taking place in your islet cells of a pancreas. If a pancreas islet cells are destroyed, they will not be regenerated. There is no potential for actually getting back to the situation of having those islet cells. You will no longer be able to produce insulin. Yeah, that's a bit much. Okay. Honestly, if you already have type 1 diabetes and you're taking your insulin, you should be fine. What do you think of a System Shock remake? Oh, yeah. Mandalore did a really nice job. How retarded is alcohol consumption? I guess it's okay in low amounts. I mean, come on. The reason Prophet Muhammad was upset about alcohol consumption was because he just said it makes men less combat ready. Paradise Cracked. Oh, I'll check it out. Insulin pens. Why are doctors leaving the UK? Tories don't just want to kill the NHS. It's a big plan, Junk. And I mean, like, we could talk about nationalism, we could talk about sovereignty, but what I'm seeing is that's going to happen is the UK is going to get the fucking last nail put in its coffin, because a former colonial power is now going to be just a direct colony of the U.S. Because it's going to be U.S. businesses, it's going to be U.S. pharmacy, it's going to be U.S. pharmaceuticals, it's going to be U.S. insurance companies coming in. And that's their idea. They want to fuck up the NHS, so everybody has to go private. It's fucking wonderful. A lot of money. Nah, I'm out. I'm out of the UK in advance. Tell us a fun fact about medicine. Most doctors have incredibly severe problems. I think we were doing like combined radiotherapy and immunopharmacology. I think our professor had to just keep stepping out to take like a heavy Marlboro smoke. Corruption of champions. I'll see. What do you think of Total Warhammer? I know it's fun, but I think Mandalore covered it really completely. I'm gonna try take Endless Space too. Okay. So we answered. We answered so many things. How about we actually just do the lecture? This is what I promised to do. I think I've got most of my notes. Let's see if this would actually work. Hello. Oh my god, can it please not go on the other fucking screen? Yeah, please don't... I don't want a notes display. I don't actually want a fucking notes display. This is terrible. This is what happens when I only have open office because I haven't paid my license fee for so long. How do I get rid of this? Shows a presenter console. Without effects. Oh my lord. I can try send the slides. Give me a sec. I don't know what Open Office is doing to me. Give me a sec. Open Office Impress. Okay. You know, let's just try. This is always going to be terrible, isn't it? Go. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Fuck this. It's just gonna be on a screen like this. Complete lack. Yeah. Complete with technical difficulties. It's exactly like you remember it from fucking class. I did not know that it would try, because basically it's putting like my notes on the right side screen. I don't give a shit about that. I would wish that actually doesn't show. View. Slideshow. What is my notes page? No, I don't care about the notes. I have none. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna zoom in. Give me a sec. I'll try and scale it appropriately. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Let me see if I can actually scale this. Nope. All right. Hey, welcome to an immunology lecture where I cannot actually put, where I cannot even put my own fucking credentials here because I don't want to out some people. I am Seth. I am not an MD, but I'm an MSc in immunology. No, you can't know from which school that was, even though there's a limited number of courses, so you could probably iron down the possibilities. As of at some point this year, I will not say when because that would actually home it down, I would highly recommend the field of immunology, especially cancer immunology, because even though I am a master's student, I am now published. I have been published in a journal that I cannot say, but it's a very, very damn good immunology journal, and I'm happy to at least have made a single contribution to this field. So, without further ado, let's talk shit. I mean, honestly, I guess I should say, hey, people for the lecture. I will say, it's mainly my PhDs who helped me with it, because while my work was fine, that was not actually good enough for being submitted. It took my PhD an extra year of work for her to have enough information and enough confirmatory studies to actually say that our shit works. That identifying information will not go for shit. COVID is real. Anyhow, a short, incomplete lecture. We got a lot of stuff that will not be covered, but we'll have time. As for my exact background, I was specialized in tumor immunology. I've worked with tumors. I've cultured tumors. I've been messing with them for a long time now. So it's been a lot of fun. I know how they work. I can tell you a little bit about my research as well. So we got some core topics, but we're going to be quite loose here. Core topics, we're going to talk about the origins of cancer. Why does it happen? The tumorigenesis. We're going to be talking about when the cancer actually becomes a cancer, because, we're going to be talking from a single cell stage to actually becoming the tissue. And then we're going to ask the question, why is cancer? Why is it not being done away with? Then we're going to be talking about the treatment. We're going to be talking about the current treatments and their problems. And we're also going to be talking about the upcoming treatments. And if I want to hold your attention for all this shit, which is just text on the screen, yes, we can deal with stage 3. We can deal with stage 4. We have dealt with metastatic lesions, and that is actually capable of being treated. It is all about which clinic you can actually get to. It is not a death sentence to be in a metastatic state. Do not believe that. Do not let the hospital tell you that your only option is to be blasted with chemo and just wait until you die. Stage 10. And some general things at the end, and that's going to be about prevention. Those are highly hypothetical because we don't do any of those. This is going to be fine. Okay, origins. I had to make this a transparency. Normally, your cells get to a stage of a limited number of replications. Either a cell has a limited number of replications, or it gets damaged, either mitochondrial damage, or DNA damage, or in any kind of component. Of course, when they replicate, they gradually accumulate those damages. Now, something will happen, which is the non-immunological side of the story. If the programmed cell death does not actually go through, that means you actually have a cell that is transformed and precancerous. If I could talk about that in mechanistic terms, essentially the cell does not communicate that it is time for it to die, and it does this by surface receptors that it tells to the immune cells that I am undergoing quite a lot of oxidative stress. It's time for you to check me out, and of course you're going to see that there's evidence of DNA damage and so on. Please kill me. So it does not do that. It is now going through endless replications. And then the second one is that's going to be happening is a failure of immunosurveillance. That is from the immunological perspective, because you should internalize this thing. You should internalize the fact that you have transformed cells in the hundreds every day. You have transformed cells perhaps in the thousands every day. You don't even know how much you have. And even though those cells may become transformed, they will be deleted, and you have no cancer. Every single day that you do not have a transformed cell that is growing into a tissue is actually a day of success for your immune system. So what happens when you don't actually get those cells seen by the immune system? There's quite a few reasons. Maybe it is in a part of a tissue of your body where there is a very poor immunosurveillance, or it's an immunoprivileged site. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Especially, like you should know that not every place in the body is going to get trafficked by immune cells in very, very high amounts. Otherwise, they could also just be hidden. Who knows? It can be quite a few things. So normally in programmed cell death, the cell can also begin its own process of digestion. If it is just left on its own, it can do necrosis, which is not the nicest way to do it because you get a lot of inflammation. But that's basically it. And then the phagocytes. Yeah, I know everybody's going to laugh at that word because we're on the fucking internet. But a phagocyte is essentially just an immune cell, like a macrophage, which would just swallow up whatever cell is meant to be digested. It would infuse something that would start disentangling all the proteins into simple components and then just fuck it up. We don't really need to cover that too much. Oh, okay. Oh no, this is. We don't really need to see what that is. Okay. Normally this would be cut out if this is a proper thing. Now, with a failure of immunosurveillance, it's like mainly NK cells, but also I'll try and talk about the different lymphocytes. For now, you don't have to think about the things which are involved in type 2 immunity. You don't have to think about mast cells and everything like that. You just have to think about T cells. That is your main adaptive cells, and B cells, which are your main producers of antibodies. And then for your innate immune system, just know that there's natural killer cells. I'll try and cover everything in that. Now, with a failure of immunosurveillance, what could actually happen is when we talk about certain cancers that seem to emerge kind of out of nowhere, there are reasons for it. For testicular prostate cancer or cancers of the sexual organs, that is because immune cells don't traffic there. There's a very simple reason why they don't traffic there. Most of your cells in the body are diploid, but I might be getting these terms inverted, but in the sexual organs, you have haploid cells because they're sex cells, and then they get crossed with the mothers or the fathers, and then they actually can look like normal cells. But prior to that, if you're, literally if sperm is exposed to the immune system identifies it as foreign. If the immune cells get to the ovaries and they can actually see the eggs, they can run an autoimmune attack of the eggs. The pancreas is another one. Some of your lymph nodes, and your eyes. Your eyes are also an immunoprivileged site. Let's see. I forgot if I actually explained this. So your T cells are developed in such a specific way that they are selected to not react to things that look like you, but they are still trained to respond to things that do not look like you. And that is done by a surface receptor, which I will cover about now. Oh, check your immunoprivilege. If you want a really humbling thought about the human experience, you may think yourself not that unique. You may think yourself not that special, but in a way, you are absolutely special. And that is by the major histocompatibility complex, the MHC, or the human leukocyte antigen in regards to humans, because that is how our immune system identifies its own cells. And the polymorphisms in the HLA complex are so fucking varied. I think if we would make an estimate of how many combinations there are, it would be something about 10 10 to the power of 27. Some number. Essentially, when we look at alleles, when we look at the genes that keep showing up, essentially, like when you and your mother reproduce, what the fuck? When your mother and father have reproduced, their HLA, which is a very, very unique combination, they will fuse together, but that will also be a completely unique set of keys. I keep fucking this shit up. Man. And essentially, this HLA is going to be expressed on the surface of every cell. On the surface of every cell, you've got the major histocompatibility complex, and this is going to be a protein that, depending on the HLA, will have a very unique kind of lock and key, which is kind of malleable, and that it'll be a unique identifier for your cells. Anything that does not have this unique identifier will be seen by the immune system, your own immune system, and it will just be attacked on sight. And I'll tell you something that's very interesting. So quite a lot of them, quite a lot of HLAs, like when people look through the population, it is so unique that sometimes like you will record an HLA from a patient. That's the only one we've ever seen in history. That's why when people are trying to do transplantations, they're trying to do HLA matching. But you will never be perfect unless it is an identical twin. If you have an identical twin, you basically have the same HLA. That is the only situation. Even if you have a brother or a sister, your HLA difference is already massive. And what is very interesting, don't interpret this a little too much, but across populations, what seems to happen when people actually reproduce, there seems to be a correlation between HLA balancing. And the authors went as far as to potentially interpret this as the main thing you're looking for in a partner is somebody who is immunologically compatible with you, to basically have the immunologically strongest children. And yeah, okay, so here's the diagram. This is essentially what happens. If you're looking from a gray, this is from a perspective of the actual cell. From a cell, the cell, essentially what it does, it will have this MHC class 1, it will have the MHC class 2, this one goes for the CD8 positive T cell, and this one goes for the CD4 positive T cell. What is essentially happening? I can just break this down very, very quickly for you. Either objects that come from outside the cell in its local environment, they get put inside, they get digested, and then they get reprocessed and presented to the CD4 positive T cell. Or let's say they're ingested and then they get processed and presented for the CD8 positive T cell. Now, if it spots that something is off, if it finds that there's something foreign inside the cell, that's when an immune response is essentially initiated in an adaptive manner. Man, why the fuck did I actually get into this shit? Why did I do this? Because for a general public, imagine how good this shit looks. This is essentially the same thing. You're going to be having cells that present information. All you have to internalize as a fact is that every cell in the body, the immune system is always going to have a bunch of vigilance for them, and they're always going to be screening those cells, and they're going to present whatever is inside that cell, and it's just going to give samples to the immune system. If it finds something that is foreign, or it's not identified, it can just start fucking doing an immune response. This is the same diagram, so it's just to communicate if you have something that is normal. If you have a normal peptide, if you have a normal amino acid sequence, and so on, there will be no immune response initiated. At the same time, the MHC class 1s and 2s, what can happen is if a cell is stressed, they might deregulate those. They might not be expressed on the surface. In that situation, an immune cell can also kill that cell because it's just not presenting MHC. Oh, okay. So there was a lot of theories about how immunity worked. Back in the day, we used to think that there is a very, very clear goddamn differences. That you would have a self versus the non-self. As I talked about the HLA or the MHC, like we identify what is us, we identify what is not us. It was a very nice and clear cut. And then this woman showed up. This woman showed up, I think, around 1998, and she basically told the whole emerging immunology field that, hey, I think this shit is wrong. I think you can still attack your own cells, because how do you explain autoimmunity? And they had a bunch of explanations, and they said, yeah, it must be something else. She was largely laughed off, and that was Polly Matzinger. I had the pleasure of meeting her at a conference, and eventually she won in a current state of immunology affairs, because it turns out it's not just recognition of self versus non-self. Damage and danger is a real thing. So put it this way: even if there is nothing, if there's nothing foreign in your body, but you would have some kind of trauma inflicted in a tissue area, that tissue area will have an inflammatory response. One step further, if it has a severe inflammatory response, it can actually escalate into autoimmunity. And that's what can happen if you inflict eye trauma. If you inflict eye trauma, and the eye is an immunoprivileged site, which the T cells have not actually got in their reservoir of cells that they have identified as being part of the body, you could have a very, very bad situation of an autoimmune attack. Actually, maybe that would be not the best example. I guess you could say if you had a severe neurological trauma, you could have myelin sheath degradation. So you could have induced multiple sclerosis locally just from trauma. You are right. You're right, Solidus. You are fucking right, Solidus. Do you know the reason that they didn't listen to Polly Matzinger, even though she was fucking right in the end? It is about damage. It is also about the self versus non-self identification. This woman was literally a Playboy bunny. This woman was a Playboy bunny, and she had no credentials. She basically used her money from being at Hugh Hefner's manor, and she's like, yeah, I want to go do immunology. I think it's fun. And then everybody was like, but you're not a PhD. You can't do this. But yeah, she was fucking right in the end. If you want to see how she looks like now, or how I have met her, she looks significantly older. I swear to God, the funniest shit was like seeing people get their fucking blood boil. Yeah. Anyhow, now we have the combined theory, which is that you can provoke an immune response by both the evidence of something taking place and an actual identified foreign agent. So that's about it. Now, I need to talk about, so what happens? So what happens when you have a transformed cell and it is not deleted immediately? It is not eliminated. Well, what can happen is we have a theory, and it seems to be relatively true. This is the immunological explanation for why when you have a tumor, it is a matter of time. Because, you know, it's more rare that you see the tumor just goes away. It more or less develops. So if you look here at the bottom, you can have this pre-malignant lesion. It goes through elimination. At this stage, the immune system is actually identifying the cancerous tissue. It will delete some of those cells. Now, I'm gonna be actually trying to put this concept later, but that's just the way it goes. I want you to think of a cancer as a I want you to think of a cancer as not just one cell. This is one thing that we're always taught. A cancer is not one cell, because the moment you go from that one cell, they differentiate, and those clusters are different. The cells that are going to be on the surface of a tumor, well, whatever we could call the tumor, will be completely different from the core. It'll be different from the sides. They are different cells. These could be considered in the same way going through a selection process, like let's say a petri dish of bacteria that keeps being treated with the same low-level antibiotic. So what would happen in that situation? Easy answer. Eventually, everything that is immunogenic and can be identified by the immune system will be selected through the process of immunoediting, because the cells which are immunoreactive, which can be seen by the immune system, they are not going to be preferred in the process of replication. The cells that aren't actually responded to will be preferred. So over the course of years, you're going to have this lesion get to a stage of equilibrium. At that point, you have evidence of tumor cell infiltrates. You're going to have all these inflammatory cells that are inside the tumor tissue, and now you would call it the tumor microenvironment. The tumor has practically managed to evade them through immunoediting. They're not very immunogenic, and at this point, it has nothing to fear from the immune system. So it's going to eventually get to a point where it's going to thrive, and then it will break off into other parts. Comjun, absolutely, angiogenesis here. I'm very sorry. And I will tell you as well, like, what is the problem with angiogenesis? Okay, this is basically the same thing. You're going to have like a loss of any kind of response, and sooner or later you're going to be in a bad time. So, what do we have as our current treatment options? There are a lot of good treatments. I do disagree with some of them. I do think that they also have their place in different situations. Of course, we've got, you can have like a broad look at the techniques. I'm not going to talk about all of them. But what I'm going to be talking about is broad modality versus how we should be approaching cancer based on my learnings of how it works immunologically. So it doesn't matter what your opinions are on those. Chemotherapy, radiotherapy, immunotherapy, surgical incision, a vaccination, if you want to put it directly in there. And I want you also to keep in mind that back in the day, we competed a lot. We competed rapidly for funds. We competed rapidly for grants. We competed rapidly for FDA approval. What does that mean? When we have that kind of competition, of course, somebody is going to say, who has a lot more money, let's say somebody from Pfizer would say, we've got a new novel radiotherapy. And then you say, oh, but I have a novel chemotherapy. It works really good. A person from Pfizer would say, fuck off. Go do your shit. We want to take the market. But over time, it turned out that the monotherapies are not actually that great. What is the new thing that will be emerging is combination therapies. And I will tell you about what is the problems with all of those. I'll try and give a specific example as well. Now, I originally called this slide the chemotherapy slide because this is what's typically seen in chemotherapy, but I generalized it more to monotherapy. Wait, did I? How did you do this? Oh, no. It's practically the same thing. Yes, I wanted to change that. Okay. You know how I made the example that cancer cells would be working very similar to a petri dish of bacteria, responding to the same dose of antibiotics over a long period of time? That example continues on, and I like to use it because it helps people understand that the cells are heterogeneous. Now, by monotherapy, I'm essentially meaning a single therapy, not combined. You're doing one treatment on it. Now, That would be fine if you're approaching something that is not living. But the cancer cells, they're an adaptive life form. They can actually adapt to it. So what happens if, okay, let me, what's the top breast cancer chemo? What do they use these days? Yeah. And for cyclines. Okay, docs, let's say you are treating your cancer cells, in this case breast cancer, with doxorubicin. What happening? That cells can evolve to become immune to being nuked. Well, yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you're treating with one agent, let's say doxorubicin, this is the same thing you will see in all the patient profiles, and I'm not joking with you. We will see about 9 months of continuous improvement, not complete regression of a tumor, but continuous improvement, quite a few side effects. The tumor burden goes down. And then, magically, what happens about after 9 months? The patient stops responding to the chemotherapy. The tumor lump stops responding to the chemotherapy because you've been only treating it with one agent for a long period of time and you have failed to kill that tumor. Now, the only cells that remain in that cluster of that tumor tissue are all immune to doxorubicin. So now you have a problem that you have not solved the issue. You now have a doxorubicin resistant tumor. And I can see this with every time I've seen like a clinician try and treat with long-term antibiotics. About the 9-month mark, all the bacteria that are relevant to it are now immune to that antibiotic. If it's monocycline, okay, they're monocycline immune. Okay, if it's doxycycline, yeah, all of that shit. Because you have to just realize that the cancer is capable of long-term adaptation. And that is more or less, I just use a different image. Now, okay, you know what? It's one of the biggest issues with trying to do this presentation from Thursday onwards. It's very hard for me to get good diagrams. Surgery is usually very, very good. Okay, wait, what did you say? Monotherapy that has slower rates of metastasis. Monotherapy can be successful in that situation. A bit about methotrexate and rheumatoid arthritis. I'll see if I had it. So I have no good images for this. I'm going to try. So normally when we catch a cancer very early, before it's getting to a higher stage, before there's any potential of a metastatic distal nodes and everything like that, what's going to happen is, yes, we can cut out the lump, but Lord forbid you left anything. Because if you've left anything, if you've left a single transformed cell, which you did not identify as part of that clump, it's still there. Now, what we used to think was, okay, we just didn't get the tumor the first time. We didn't manage to cut it out. We can try again. What happens in an immunological context when you make an incision into the body? And this is why the cancer becomes stronger. Now, if I made a blade incision on a tumor, and I did not remove that tumor, I have escalated it. I have promoted its development. And why does that happen? Because normally your body sees damage. After it sees damage, it tries to do tissue repair. It promotes angiogenesis, which is a lot more linking of blood vessels. It promotes more nutrients coming in. It promotes more anti-inflammatory responses. So that surgical incision may have actually created a tumor microenvironment that facilitates that tumor to hide even better, because now it basically thinks, oh, everything must be repaired. It's going into repair mode. It's going to bring macrophages. It's going to bring T regulatory cells. And what are all of those going to do? They're going to down modulate any kind of any kind of immune response because it wants to try and help out all the cells. That is one of the problems. But it's a big ass problem. And as I've talked to you about before, the tumor is a heterogeneous tissue. And largely what it has done once it gets into this equilibrium phase where it's not actively being killed off, it has recruited immune cells or reprogrammed them. Immune cells which were previously doing an immune response and turned them into Tregs instead of effector cells. Those T regulatory cells, their main function is actually to tell other T cells, stop attacking whatever is in this area because you're going to do damage. Is it possible to kill tumors with phages? Yes. In a way, they've done it. They've done it. These injections and so on. Okay, what is happening here? Treatments for future. And what we're going to be doing and have done. Can you later elaborate about autoimmune type 1 diabetes? I'll try. Try and remind me about it. Immunomodulation. Yeah, sorry. I'm very Okay, now for the future, we're going to be actually doing more or less what we've always done, because everything has an application. It's just that we have done, we've overlooked stuff or we didn't know enough back in the day. Our whole idea now is we're not going to be competing for grant money. We're not going to be competing for funds. We're actually bringing big pharmaceutical giants together, and then they co-agree that, okay, it's actually worse for us if patients die, even in a completely capitalistic perspective. So let's do a combination therapy. Let's do a chemotherapy that has elements of immunotherapy. Let's go do that together. Let's do a couple of agents. We will all make money, and the patient may actually survive, which is actually better for the entire industry. Cryosurgery is just another little environmental stressor. No, they are doing that. They are doing that. So like all the things that are coming out that are very, very effective, those are combination therapies. You may have problems sometimes depending if there's a financial incentive. I do think Europe is better these days. I know a lot of Americans have actually had more success. They go to Mexico City. They have to go to fucking Cuba to be able to get something that is going to be using a combination therapy. Now, I have a bunch of things to internalize. You know what I talked about with, let's say, doxorubicin. You get treated for it for months. It doesn't remove it. It doesn't kill the tumor. And then you get the potential for building up resistance, for the tumor to build up resistance to the therapy. We need to do combination therapy. You attack it from multiple angles. So if it tries to adapt and pivot from one vulnerability, often what actually happens with those tumors, by getting resistance to something, they are becoming weaker to something else. And I'll tell you more about that in depth in a sec. We need to do it fast. We need to do multiple agents, and we need to make sure that there's an immune response that keeps on going so that it would actually take those tumor cells, analyze them, and then in theory, the patient could be quite immune. Poverty kills a cancer patient faster than cancer. Yeah. Now, here's the thing that I've been coming to. I don't have any goddamn images for it. I'm very sorry. Of course, any kind of cancer treatment should be doing personalized medicine. What would be, you say, was the best country so we can all have a chance of thriving? I don't know. All I know is about medical systems. I would say that Scandinavia is very good. I would give my endorsement to Denmark. Probably one of the best centers that I've seen. Some of the things that I'll be talking about, they're done in Austria. But of course, they have a lot of crosstalk with the Swiss and the Germans. They're doing some really goddamn good work. Now, how do we all this shit that you've talked about, Seth, can we actually get to a fucking point? The point is, cancers are very adaptable. Cancers are living, but they're also, think about it, like they've gone through programmed cell death. They've forgotten about programmed cell death. They are a mutant. And the first mutation is actually in the mitochondria. So actually their energy mechanisms are already screwed up. And it's not an accident. They don't break their metabolics. People used to think that, oh, cancer cells are breaking their metabolics and they are preferentially using glucose in an anaerobic environment because they're stupid. No. If you use up all the oxygen in your environment with oxidative phosphorylation, and then you preferentially want to do anaerobic respiration with glucose, what's going to happen is you are going to create a hypoxic environment. Not much oxygen, things don't want to go there so much. You can have blood links to get the nutrients to you, but immune cells will have a harder time finding you. They break their metabolism to escape the immune system. But what happens as a result of breaking that metabolism, another thing happens. You know, I talked about MHC. I talked about HLA. There's a reason I talked about MHC and HLA. When you fuck up your metabolism as a cancer cell, traditionally, the first thing that they will try and do is stop the presentation of MHC type 1 and type 2. They are basically becoming hidden from the immune system. But we did not know in the past that hiding from the immune system was actually a process of metabolic engineering. So actually these cancer cells, they're incredibly smart. They create an acidic environment. They create a hypoxic environment. They're hidden from the rest of the body. Oh, but they have a problem. And that is they're broken metabolically. If you're broken metabolically, you cannot respond like a normal cell to environmental factors in the same way. Now, cancer cells, if you give them a lot of time, they will actually be able to adapt to things. You know what they're not good at? Short-term adaptation. Now, short-term adaptation is something that your cells are very capable of. And I don't know if these slides I'm getting to this. Okay, I'm actually getting to the good stuff. Cancers are terrible at short-term adaptation because they do not have the same mechanisms to adapt to that. And I will tell you why that is. Because to adapt to certain short-term stressors in the environment, you have to reveal yourself to the immune system. You have to ask the immune system for help. Let's say, for example, a cancer... Wait, I'll just go on. Cancer loves stasis. Do you know why we get a situation? I'm just using this as an example. This is completely anecdotal, but it's recorded. Do you know why elephants in nature can live very, very long? But in a zoo, they actually get transformed cells and they die. They actually die traditionally of a cancer. The changing environment for those elephants keeps them alive. There's too many things that just keep popping up. So essentially, if you can induce an abrupt environmental change, you fuck up the entire situation of a cancer. And so how do you treat then cancer? What is the big thing? What is the missing link? Catch them off guard and make them fucked up by the environment. Now, I'll tell you one way that it was done. Hobo, you're not actually too far. You're not actually too far. And I don't have the exact data on this. You cannot actually say this is objective fact. But I believe that there is actually a correlation in the Finnish population of how many tumor incidences they have, per capita compared to other states. Now, we don't know the exact rate of of sauna usage, but saunas are used predominantly very much in Finland. Of course, there's many other factors. This is what I'm getting to. and essentially, like, that's not it. So I'm gonna say like different things of how you can fuck up the tumor's environment. There's a couple of them, and I did not finish this because I actually kind of ran out of time. But there's a man here who's probably the guy who I love. He got into this shit ages ago. Mr. William Coley could be considered the grandfather of modern cancer immunology. Mr. Coley was nothing more than an oncosurgeon, and he got very upset because he had a very young patient presented with a sarcoma. There's nothing he could do for the patient, so they died. He was very young at the time, and as most doctors do, he got very upset by it, so he wanted to look into it deeper and deeper. He wanted to find out, is there a way he could have saved that patient? Oh, yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm going to zoom it out. Thank you for telling me. Yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you. Mr. William Coley then read on to the occurrence of spontaneous remission. Because even at those days when it was not as advanced cancer care, we had situations that were recorded, case examples of patients that had cancer that actually survived, and they lost their tumor. And you know what was often the case? It would actually be a middle to upper class established gentleman who basically said, oh, I have no chance of living through this. So they go on to some hike in a tropical jungle or something like that. And if you've never been to Southeast Asia or something like that, if you catch a fever over there, it's very different. So they would get a very intense febrile fever that could leave you bedbound for a week. And what Mr. William Coley noticed, what happened with these people, those were the people who lost their tumors. They had spontaneous remission, an intense fever. So using the stuff that I'm talking about here, it's an acute environmental stress. That is how you screw up a cancer. And Mr. William Coley, unfortunately, was a clinician, so he did not record this as well as a proper PhD would have with sample groups and so on. But I went through all his papers. I know the formula that he was using. My man, Mr. William Coley, went back with this research, and he looked at ways of promoting this kind of same response. He was inducing the state of hyperthermia, which he would later define as fever range hyperthermia, because in that range, you see curative effects, and you see actually the cancer tissue recede. Now, he was not very advanced. I think there was quite a lot of bad situations, because I also must stress this to you. If you're very interested in this research, please also take this with a huge grain of salt, because what happens if you inject too many bacteria, attenuated or dead, those pathogen-associated molecular patterns, if there is too much of them, you will have you will go through sepsis. You will have a cytokine storm, which is what we call in the immunological community a feedback loop that doesn't end until you're dead. That is a risk of injecting too many bacteria. But what he did was, he injected small amounts of bacteria as a new treatment modality into the patients that he had. And he managed to get rid of quite a lot of inoperable sarcomas. Now, we now know that sarcomas are the things that you don't really want to treat with immunotherapy. It's very responsive to radiotherapy and shit like that. But even then, he had some very, very good successes. Now, building on from the works of Dr. William Coley, he had many daughters who were very, very happy with his research. Local effects on an area of tumor can actually induce, but about tumor lysis syndrome. Do you mean tumor? Wait, I am very. I know what you mean. Here's a problem. You can do a lot of these things, but you also don't want to destroy the tumor so quickly, because that is going to be released into the bloodstream, and that's going to make an inflammatory response. Inflammatory response in your entire blood supply could also kill you. Now, I'm going to be going on further with this. Mr. William Coley had a bunch of daughters. They continued with his work. Unfortunately, because he's a clinician and he did not have quite a lot of funding, he could not bankroll large-scale clinical trials. So even though he is the grandfather of cancer immunology, it wasn't until the 1980s, 1990s, that we actually picked this stuff up. There have been people who have taken this to the new logical conclusions. And I will try and zoom again. I'm very sorry. Now, let me see if I can just have this out here. And I can actually see which case examples I have. Give me a sec. He did not have emergent skill support. Okay, so I have been in contact. I've been in contact with the people who have been taking the progression of that. So they actually found that in the end, we don't actually need to inject somebody with bacterial extracts. We don't actually need to do that. Yes, you can use a foreign antigen to try and promote that kind of febrile fever that goes into hyperthermia, and then you sensitize the cancer. But we can actually artificially do that. We can actually heat the patient until they get into 40 degrees Celsius. And it is a bit uncomfortable because you're artificially inducing fever, but it only lasts for about an hour, and you do it like every second day. No, this would be the same for animals. Just keep in mind, Ao Cow said, animals have a much higher metabolic rate than humans. So when we're talking about treating, let's say, experimentally a lab rat, their cells are replicating on a very different rate. Here's the Quran, or it's nothing. Okay, now what actually happens when there's hyperthermia? Why does a cancer die in hyperthermia? I need to explain to you this mechanism to essentially tell you why all this shit is working. Because the same thing also happens in a way when a cancer is in the presence of a virus or bacteria that is actually going to be attacking its tissues. But I want to tell it in the case of hyperthermia. When you go through hyperthermia, all of your cells, all of your endogenous healthy cells have something that they can secrete. It's called heat shock protein. Now, heat shock protein is rather amazing because your body is not meant to go to a high temperature. Your body is not meant to stay alive at 40 degrees Celsius internally, yet it can. And that's because heat shock proteins are made inside the cell, then they are exported out of the cell, and these ensure that all the proteins that would denature at that temperature still stay folded. Now, the heat shock protein is still going to be required for the cancer to survive a fever. But those heat shock proteins have a two-factor problem for the cancer cell. One, the cancer cell does not want to be seen by the immune system. If it is seen by the immune system, if it upregulates, if it's seen by the immune system, it will be destroyed. But the only way for it to produce heat shock protein is that it has to restart the process of intracellular trafficking. Now, I know I'm talking about high terms, and I should probably even actually just have MS Paint to give you like an idea of what's going on. But essentially, a cancer cell tries to minimize the traffic going in and out of the cell so it does not present any components that could be identified by the immune system. For it to export the heat shock protein to protect itself, it has to restart that mechanism. So it's going to survive the fever, but it's going to be identified by the immune system, and it will be attacked and killed. If it does not restart its intracellular trafficking and let the heat shock proteins go out and save itself from the fever, it will be killed by the fever. It will die. And even if it can't restart it, or it chooses not to restart it, it's going to burst open and show a lot of components that are clearly foreign from the body and promote an immune response. What you are giving cancer is two loaded guns, and neither of those options are actually good. Dies from the heat, or is going to die from the immunity. And that's why it's very effective to actually combine that with existing therapies. Anyhow, I do not have full license for the imagery of all these patients. I will try and talk to you as much as I can, because I've talked to you a lot about the theory of it. This is what they're doing in Austria, and I think you'll find it very interesting. So the cell membrane transporters here come into action and can actually be used to induce damage to the tumor. Yeah. So essentially, what I'm saying here is the membrane transport is temporarily stopped when the cancer is in its own damaged metabolic state, because it does not want to be seen by the immune system. But it has to restart that to actually survive a fever. Also, another really cool thing, we didn't know about this before, but I thought it was fucking sick. Did you know heat shock proteins are actually also acting as antigen presenters? I didn't tell you what an antigen was, but essentially that's any component that could be identified as a foreign entity. So that's really cool. So by the heat shock proteins just being exported by the cancer, it is becoming much more visible to the immune system. I fucking love it. Yeah. I know I've got that screen open because I need to hide some stuff. Okay. Now, Seth, you've talked a lot of theory. Let's talk about results. Now, you know what I promised to you at the beginning, that we could deal with stage 3 and 4 tumors and cancers. We can also deal with metastasized lesions. I will not give you too many examples. We have many case examples. They are actually fine. I will try and give you annotations of what is actually happening. This is a heavily developed esophageal cancer. This is a normal esophagus. And this is the exact same patient just before and after therapy. This is something that would be considered as, I'm sorry, we have nothing to offer you, please go and die. This man had a poor prognosis, and essentially he was given no options. I will not say he was an older male with adenocarcinoma of the esophagus with mediastinal lymphadenopathy. I will not go through like the exact specifics, but essentially what we're doing here is we use low dose checkpoint inhibitors at the Austrian clinic. I'll just summarize to you. Checkpoint inhibitors are the new modality for immunotherapy. It's basically found out that cancers try and inhibit the immune system with checkpoints, which would be PD-1, CTLA-4, if people know what that is. But you can actually give anti-PD-1, anti-CTLA-4, and they are very, very effective at restarting the immune process. Now, all we did here is essentially use a very cheap concoction or cocktail of immunotherapeutic things which would stimulate the immune system and induce that fever range hypothermia. I can tell you how many times we actually, well, I would say the people here treated them. This was, he was treated 3 times per week over 3 weeks. And 8 weeks later, this was when he presented. This is when he presented to the clinic. I think it was the top right. And then this is him after the therapy. That is only about 8 weeks of therapy later. No. He had 3 weeks of therapy, but 3 times a week. So about 9 treatments at the facility. They would only take about an hour each. And up till this day, he has a complete remission. He has not actually relapsed. I do not have the release of consent for this patient. But, well, I mean, that's probably like, I know they would be so fucking embarrassed about this shit. This is another patient. Stage 4, inoperable prostate cancer. And the same thing. It was the same thing. He was given a prognosis that there would be no hope for him. Luckily, he was a medical doctor, so he was referred to the facility very, very quickly. Okay, I'm going to tell you just how long that one was taken. Identical therapy regimen as case 1. He was still treated over only 3 weeks. So this is essentially the same. We don't have his pictures, but please understand that he did not want those released to the public. These were presented at these examples were presented at an immunological conference in 2017. So this is why I'm allowed to already talk about this. We've already got more case examples of good shit. Well, the treatment does not magically remove a cancer. The whole point is you're sensitizing the cancer and making it more immunogenic so it is actually identified by the immune system. Then you give a low-dose checkpoint inhibitors, which is the anti-PD-1 and interleukin-2. I should explain this, because I didn't. Your immune cells, they work on cytokines. Cytokines are immunomodulatory molecules that are secreted by other immune cells to tell them what to do. IL-2, interleukin-2, is generally considered a pro-inflammatory cytokine that gives it authorization to attack a little bit more. I'll give you another case. This is a very interesting one. I just want to tell you one thing, though. You are very, very lucky I chose to give you these slides because we've got the ones of the actual patient, and it is not pretty. But she was doing well. I present a complete remission of a stage 4 breast cancer, combining the same low-dose checkpoint inhibitors with interleukin-2 and fever-range hypothermia. I can give you a little annotation of what's going on here. If you're seeing these hardened plaques over here, these are essentially the metastases that have branched off from the lungs. And although you can imagine that this is actually spread a little bit further, we went for this top part. This is what happened to the patient over time. They did a follow-up. I think she had a much more intense therapy. This was probably one of the most complex patients. Some of the most therapies, some of the most treatments. But the most important thing that I would actually say is that at the end of all this, we have still not seen a relapse of her. 6 months of therapy for stage 4 breast cancer. She could have been dead in a bunch of months. I think I've got another view of it here. Oh no, this is why I'm fucking stupid, isn't it? And this was the, I'm just checking how long this took. This had a maintenance therapy, which continued longer on. This wasn't with just the normal checkpoint inhibitors. They also gave him some maintenance therapy and so on. But this was a stage 4 melanoma. all I should have said. I feel like you shouldn't have left the credits in. It's absolutely fine. I'm very happy to share their work. If you are melanoma is a cancer of the skin. Cancer can push out tissue out of the way, but it could also, I guess it would technically just compete for space, really. I don't have much more to say than that. I'm just trying to make the case that there are options for you. What's up, Sadistic? What's good, man? That man was mad insane. And now he's head of a department. Now, I will say... okay, yeah. We have a bunch for prevention. As I talked in previous streams, I think humans are probably most deficient in zinc and omega-3. This is not something that you're going to easily get in your diet, and it's probably got cancer preventive properties. I mean, I know for a fact with omega-3, it can directly disrupt it. A lot of this stuff can also be used in combination with existing therapies to actually improve outcomes. I talked about this a previous time when we had streams, I think last year. It has been proven that your muscles are an immune organ. You know how I said that interleukin 2 is a pro-inflammatory one? Interleukin 6 is a bit more nuanced, but it's also very good at recruiting NK cells, the natural killer cells, to propagate, traffic, and go through your body. Now, I'll tell you one thing that's very, very important with NK cells. Even if your adaptive immune response with the T cells and the B cells, that is designed to be specific against an antigen. They can also be tricked. An NK cell, even though it is incredibly less effective than a T cell or a B cell, it's dumber. But by being dumber, it also can't be tricked as much. So you can consider your natural killer cells as a natural scavenger of any cells that are getting transformed. So it's easier to stop them in that early stage of development rather than waiting for longer. Okay, of course there's chemoprevention. I have differing views on that. We've tried to give people low-dose chemotherapeutics. What do we need to keep in mind if we get cancer, someone close to us with cancer? Sure, Vatsu. I'll get to that in a sec. Of course, people have considered, why don't we just take biopsies of cancers, cut them up into little segments, inactivate them, heat kill them, and actually do that as a vaccination, because technically your body would then have a library and a memory response against a lot of theoretical cancers that could actually exist out there. It actually sounds like a good idea. I don't actually know what the problems with that is. Diagnostic screening is still not streamlined. There's a lot of better things coming out there. Especially, like, I think somebody mentioned the mosquitoes. What is it? The malarial protein that is expressed in the form of fetal malaria. They actually found that it actually binds very selectively to almost every kind of cancer, just due to the unique kind of angiogenesis that they go through. By the way, angiogenesis is just the blood cell development. Thank you, Trolex. Take care. And there's also, even if you can't get rid of a cancer, let's say that it's actually developed, I don't know how much I can endorse this, because of course we have to be very skeptical about different medical journals, and there could be a bias there. It's actually in China. In China, they have developed some very cheap cocktails, and what those cocktails promise is not exactly that you can stop the tumor. You know, you've got the tumor, but they have demonstrated that as long as you're taking the cocktail, which is made of some very, very simple drugs in the end, the adhesion potential of metastatic cells that keep budding off from the central cancer, they don't have the stickiness or the adhesion to grip onto distant tissues. Yeah, we can mock them that they're Chinese, but it was very impressive if indeed those results were actually true. Okay. Right. What am I gonna say as a fucking too long didn't read? If you have cancer, before you get cancer, it's probably the best stuff to be doing something about it. Go out into the world, go get fevers and go get colds. Go interact with, I don't know, wild animals or something like that. Go get sick, because that makes you only stronger. There is a very, very strong correlation between someone's development of a tumor and the last time that they have been sick. Of course, that could also mean that your immunity is just perfect. But just go live life and do not stay static. That is one of the most important things. Stay physically fit. As it was another big correlator. We're not exactly sure why that is. It might be just simply because of a bigger NK cell count. That people who have more lean muscle mass, even if they do get cancer, they are much more likely to respond very strongly from the medication and actually get a lot of effect. But if you do get cancer, I'd say you need to ask for an expert's opinion. And I'd say ask for a bunch of experts' opinion. And do not go for monotherapy. Do not go for like the first thing that the hospital suggests to you. Because I also did not tell you the exact specifics of why some of these monotherapies may be also very, very non-conducive for you. You know, if they just gave you one chemotherapeutic, I know I'm going to get crucified for saying this. It's not going to cure. I'm sorry, it's not going to cure. It's going to delay. I've seen the studies. They can't tell me that I'm giving misinformation if I'm telling people that if you're just being given one chemotherapeutic, you'll be fine. No, do you know what those studies measure? They don't measure survival, because then there will be no difference from the placebo. They are measuring the latency to death. And you know what? For a chemotherapeutic back in the day, in the old-ass days, the good old times, do you know what was considered okay to get on the market? A 6-month increased latency to death. For a lot of money and a lot of suffering. The other problem with the older chemotherapeutics, which I have a very big issue with, is the fact that it is also, I'm sorry, one of the main things that it targets is cell replication. It's going to target mitosis, which is happening a lot in the cancerous cell. But do you know what else replicates very, very fucking quickly? White blood cells. All of your immune cells. So you're not only having a selective therapy, which the tumor is just going to select out. It's not going to be affected by it at some point. You are also suppressing your immune system, which is going to be great. It might even actually lower your fucking prognosis. However, I'm now having the caveat of I just think that is a mistreatment. I do think chemotherapeutics absolutely have their place in combination with a lot of other things. Yeah, thank you, Eyes. Thanks for supporting. Yeah. Some things, of course. So basically, if you have to get treated for cancer, there are a lot of things that you can do to try and keep yourself alive. Get lean muscle mass. Keep exercising. I mean, you know, I'm not going to endorse all of these behaviors, but I already know what I would try. Based on everything that I know, I would try and induce a fever. I would try and induce a tropical fever. How would I do that? I don't know. I would probably just get myself into contact with the antigen. There have been more ghetto things that have been done and have worked. But I'd say do not put yourself at the hands of really the public hospitals. Okay, Vlad, yes, since you're actually asking about it already, then I'll say, this is what I'm shilling. They are the best of the best. They are the best of the fucking best. I don't actually think there are too many. Where is my lectures? uh, oh, I'm completely gone. Where are they? I forgot what the fuck their goddamn office is. Go look for oncothermia, or go look for hyperthermia cancer treatment. There are some localized ones in different countries. They are in cross-talks with each other, which I very much appreciate. But I think the most developed is currently in Austria. That is my opinion. Or of course, everybody is actually finding out about this on cancer risk and something like Remicade. What was Remicade? I've never studied in Austria. I'm just very. There's correlation cortisol and heat shock proteins. Could you have a quick? I'm not too sure about the cortisol. I'm not the one to say it. All I know is yeah. Winnie, you got it. Dr. Cleve hypothermia in Austria. Probably the best people. Of course, that's only one clinic. Go ahead and find other people who are doing this. Cleve has also spoken with the granddaughters of William Coley, so he learned all this shit. They also speak English. Yes, they do a bunch of meme stuff, but essentially what I've seen that they do, they were a lot of alternative medicine, but then they combined all that alternative medicine and it actually works. 4.2 stars. No, I mean the meme stuff because yes, I can tell you right now. Yes, vitamin C administration has an effect on a tumor. It has an effect on the tumor burden. Will it cure you? No. Will it reduce the tumor's burden by about 5-10%? Yeah, sure. But it's still a nice little thing to add into the treatment. Okay. Of course, all this therapy is not perfect. I'm just saying that something that is a combinational approach with immunotherapy and something more traditional yields a lot better results. You like seeing results on patients? Oh, man. Well, what else can I give as a recommendation? Thanks, Trollex. Thanks, Skullhead. Checkpoint inhibitors will still cost. I'd say 10,000. I'd say 10,000 for the full course of therapy. But you could probably get that in financing. There's a lot of other interesting therapies. But you know, a lot of people are now finding out about this. I didn't know they were using this kind of term. They called it a cold tumor to hot tumor, which is something people outside the immunological community have decided to call it. Essentially, what they call it is like it's like a fancy term they can say in every little conference. It's like, we made the cold tumor hot. Now we can detect it. Now we can attack it. They know essentially what it fucking means. Yes, you're putting environmental stress. Everything I've talked about, this is essentially it, and everybody's starting to do it. It's essentially what checkpoint inhibitors are doing. You're making the tumor hot as well. Of course, there's other things that I've seen people try and have success with. My shilling of hyperthermia is particularly because I believe that is your chance of having a systemic wide response. So in that situation, you've probably eliminated every single cell. If you have like remnant cells, you know you're gonna have a relapse sooner or later. I heard about this. The immunosuppressed patient who got a tumor from his tapeworm. He didn't actually get the tumor from his tapeworm. What actually happened? He had a tumor. He had a tapeworm that had a tumor, because essentially that tapeworm contracted a very severe malignant form of cancer, died in his colonic tract. And of course, the tumor material is all that's left of that tapeworm, so of course it transmits it to the patient. It was a very crazy case. Read this. Studied increased. Oh. So essentially what you're saying is if you're having elevated cortisol, you won't benefit so much from the heat shock proteins. Huh. All right. I'm very sorry about the seagulls. I can't give away my country. Just say Europe. Let's see the tapeworm tumor patient. Let's see. A tapeworm that infected a Colombian man deposited malignant cells inside his body that spread much like an aggressive cancer. I think this was an older one. I think this is older. I think they actually found out that this was indeed the tapeworm that had the tumor. Oh, anyhow, we've not even played any games. We've only talked about fucking misery. I have not played AI War. I want to try it. And Solium Infernum. Hello, everyone. I have spent everybody's time here for you not to have any clear answers. Because at the end of a fucking day, there are not any good answers. With therapeutic hypothermia, it's just that the hypothermia, it's very localized. It can induce environmental stress, but it seems to be more advantageous to induce hyperthermia rather than hypothermia. And anyway, the hypothermia only works in a localized area rather than systemic. I don't know if I'll review the Gothic remake. Apparently the guys are going to redo it up absolutely from scratch. I want to... Okay, somebody was saying about type 1 diabetes and autoimmunity. I don't know much I can really say. Is that in regards to essentially deity? Do you mean that in regards to that the autoimmunity can lead to type 1 diabetes, or how did it lead to that? I need to just frame the question because there's a lot. How I used to use malaria to cure syphilis. Yeah, I know. Did you know they try to use malarial therapy as well to treat tumors? It's incredibly dangerous. They actually tried it with... they tried it in Soviets. It's incredibly dangerous, but what they found out is, it's very interesting, that malarial parasites, they actually selectively go for the blood supply of a tumor, because a tumor's blood supply is so new and fresh. As you said, you having a stroke in the fucking Bahamas. beta glucan and immunotherapy. I messed with the beta glucans for a bit. We even had like lectures of people coming in talking about those. Yeah, it's Mayo, for brain tumors. Can you give me a sec? Give me a little sec. I'll see if I can. I don't know if I've got it here. Give me a sec. No, it's not this one. No, not this one. Oh my god. I don't have those examples with you, Mayo. I don't have the examples for you. But there has been some success with brain tumors as well. And they were not of a low stage either. So the hyperthermia, immunotherapy with combination, checkpoint inhibitors, and so on, that has worked for the brain as well. The thing I'm always, of course, going to be fucking scared of is, of course, leukemia, because when you've got a hijacking of your own immune system, that's a little bit more complex. And I say very, very goddamn complex. Yeah, which transport is? Oh. Yeah. To treat psychiatric diseases. I forgot about that. Have you done research in viruses like AIDS? AIDS is very dangerous to work with. You need a higher biosafety level access. I've got a. If you're interested, I've got a certificate for biosafety level 2. But that's not dangerous. You're not going to get fucked up from biosafety level 2. I'm sure there's different stuff coming for leukemia treatments. I don't like their idea of just doing the transplants, because I've seen that also just go belly side up. On time, stop rape hentai. I guess it's nice. I don't endorse it. How do you know of Africa? Because Africa's got a lot of great minds in there. Surprise, surprise. People got to find out. Evil rises me that all my fucking friends from Africa, they are all docs. So they've done some good work. Plus, a lot of interesting research on autoimmunity has actually come from Africa, because it's one of the last places where we can actually have people living with endogenous parasites. Those endogenous parasites helped us really study the development of autoimmunity, which happens less in the less industrialized countries. I think I may have talked about this before, but technically tapeworms and so on, they have a broad level immunosuppressant effect. Also on a local level. And typically you'll see it with, let's say, sub-Saharan Africans that are infected with it. Yes, they get other complaints, but it's very rare for them to have allergies or any kind of autoimmune condition. Multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1. Well, actually, I don't know if I would actually stop it. Yeah. Let's say almost all autoimmune conditions, you don't really see them in Africa. That's just because of their higher incidence of parasites. Parasites have adapted to humans. They actually have lived side by side with us for so long, they practically secrete the exact same cytokine as a human would make to modulate your immune responses. What they even theorized is actually that we grew with them side by side for so often that actually what you're getting What you're getting in the end is maybe humans have an overactive immune system to try and compensate for the fact that we grew up with parasites for so long. Now that you don't have those parasites, you're getting autoimmunity because we were trying to compensate for the down modulation that we would get from them. But that doesn't mean we have to inoculate ourselves with with fucking parasites. You don't actually have to do that, please. My SFT levels my ass. The scientist working in Ebola got killed by it after even level. We had an Ebola lab in my vaccine work. That was the one place I didn't want to go into. My degree's in immunology. View on phages and their use in the medical field. Phage therapy is going to be cool. I like it. I think they're using phages for a bunch of things. I like it. How come you have friends from all around the world? That's what you call a traveling fucking kike. A Jew is so metropolitan he does not have one place. What about the up-to-date regimen on RA? Is that rheumatoid arthritis? Mary Skelter Nightmares when? How long until pages become common in medicine? Clemefius. That is based on how long until Westerners stop shitting on former Soviet science. Just because phage therapy was discovered in Georgia, I think in Tbilisi, if I pronounced it correctly. Georgia. Yeah, they still got their phage therapy center. Almost referred a couple people there. Tbilisi. Yeah, I've done this so badly. Yeah, as soon as they stop looking down on that and actually considering that this actually has a very interesting modality, because the thing with phage therapy, they're specific for a certain kind of bacteria, and they're not affected by the new emerging antibacterial resistance. So, in theory, you could actually deal with MRSA, with methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, which is one of the main fucking killers in a hospital. Just get phages. You would probably solve that problem overnight. But no, we can't do that because it came from the goddamn Soviets. What's the best way to get diarrhea? Eat a lot of licorice. Keep shitting for days. Baldur's Gate review will come someday. How do they bind to cancer spells and not regular ones? Are you talking about phages as in actually macrophages, or phages as in a bacteriophage? Because I was thinking about phages as in the viruses that predate on bacteria. Get C. difficile. Can you get a tumor in your dick? Of course you can get a tumor anywhere. But all I can tell you is it seems that organs which see a lot more use are likely organs that will not have tumor growths. I've got a master. I don't have a PhD. I am the only Jew in my family without a PhD. I am the only Jew in my family without a postdoc. in the community, in the family line, this is what you call being a delinquent. Review will be worked on. The review will be worked on. It's actually, Darklight, you probably need it more than me. But thank you very much. I'd say if you can if you want to take a fucking chance, I've referred people previously before to Dr. Cleef's hyperthermia practice. If you're willing to pay for that, I've heard very, very good things. I haven't used it myself. I haven't used it for my family because we were blessed enough that we find the cancer at an early staging. So we just did a very, very simple surgery. About emerging that could target them specifically like antibiotics. Yes, there has been viral therapies that specifically target the cancer cells. The problem then becomes that you have a tumor microenvironment, it's suppressing inflammatory responses. So, in theory, the virus should be able to burst the entire cancer, but, you have like a lot of mechanical difficulties. How are you going to inject it? Will the immune system repel the virus before it actually kills the tumor? What happens if you actually have tumor lysis syndrome? There's also a problem if it's too effective. You can get blood poisoning. I think there's anything interesting to talk about. There is nothing interesting to talk about Jewish culture. With Jewish culture, it is you look up to the sky, you see that it's blue, and you blame Palestine. No, I'm kidding. It's I just don't think there's anything to it. At what age do you think transgender? Oh my God! How did I read this? Yeah, bacteriophages are great. It's actually also like very promising for quite a lot of like skin conditions. For example, like people who are younger, you might have a younger brother. One of the best things you can do if you have like acne vulgaris is go swim in water, but specifically ocean water. That shit is filled with bacteriophages. And of course, some of those are going to be specific for the strains on your face. I don't know if human races are more resistant to cancer. I do know that there are demographic and genetic differences for conditions. I know that, for example, with especially with African men, I see them do very poorly as they go up in climates, and especially in latitudes. They don't do very well. It would be commonly said, let's say in America, they would observe African Americans as having more early onset heart disease. But I don't believe we actually see this incidence locally in Africa. But you can see like these kind of things. I can tell you actually something very, very specific or very general in general. Nephrology. Do you recommend getting a tumor blood marker test each year? Honestly, if you can do any kind of diagnostics, that would be actually very good. I'm just waiting until they have unified diagnostics because there's way too many things. Okay, I can tell you something very general, which is not actually going on demographics. If you take a man and a woman and you know nothing about them, I'm going to tell you one thing. A woman, I find her much more likely to suffer from autoimmunity. If I look at a man, I find him much more likely to suffer from cancer. And that appears to be a genetic difference in terms of how our immunological priming goes. This is why when you see multiple sclerosis, go look at the gender distribution in cases. Women predominantly get multiple sclerosis. Men, more likely to get the heart disease, more likely to get the cancer. I'm sorry, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Because you'll have a balance of immunovigilance due to perhaps how the female's doubled X chromosomes are working. She has a hypervigilance, which would give her protection against the cancer. More so, let's say, than the man. But unfortunately, it is also going to spiral out of control more easily. There are ways to fix this, of course. If you're ever interested or you suffer from such a condition or have a loved one that suffers from it, you can read up on immunological priming or immunomodulation and immune reprogramming. Because actually what is very interesting is the immune system has a huge capacity for plasticity. It also has a huge capacity for changing its mode of operation. You can actually give it an immunological event that not only makes it attack a tissue, You can also give it an immunological event that ceases the attack of a tissue. What about XXY? They don't get born. If you have loved ones who suffer from mesothelioma. Honestly, I don't understand how HSP70 doesn't protect the proteins. Cancer cell proteins. It's just that to have the HSP be exported and to protect that cancer, it must restart some co-equipment. And that co-equipment will make it available and visible to the immune system. Crohn's disease, because that's autoimmune, there are some things that actually respond to it very well. I've talked to a friend who had ulcerative colitis. He may respond to that very well as well. You know, I was talking about autoimmunity being lower in African countries, and that's because of the parasites. There's a couple of emerging therapies now where we don't have the parasites themselves. We take the immunomodulatory cytokines that are secreted by these parasites. We take this culture, and then we basically put it into the intestinal and colonic tract of the patient. And it's very, very interesting. But you can actually, not always permanently, but you could temporarily stop the process of autoimmune attack. In the case of Crohn's disease, there is no longer an attack of the autoimmune T cells on the intestinal wall. And in the case of ulcerative colitis, you're going to actually just have a nicer intestine. Bioinformatics. I am not the person to be saying about this. I'd say go read up on it. Is there anything that helps? I know they give corticosteroids for ulcerative colitis. All I'm supporting is the new novel stuff involving parasite inoculation. Well, I mean, not the actual parasite. I mean the stuff that is left over. I can actually show you. Unfortunately, I think they folded. Overmed. I think this is actually not what I'm looking for. Let me see. Tapeworm ovum. Yeah. With helminthic therapy. I think it's still going on in the U.S. So that might be a hopeful thing for your friend if they've got the ulcerative colitis. However, I can't say whether or not that would actually work. You know what? Because we spent all our time on this shit. I spent all my time on this shit just because of my goddamn ego train to make sure that I haven't lost so much of my information that I still got it. Not cofactors. The HSP70 will actually rescue the cancer cells. It will protect their proteins. However, for it to be exported to the surface, it has to restart, let's say, its MHC transport network, which is often seen as stopped or broken in order for it to not present antigens on the surface. Because if it presented antigens on the surface, it would present itself tumor parts to the immune system, and it doesn't want that. But it has to resume that for the HSP70 to be exported. Okay, give me one sec. Because this ego train is done, I can actually show you a few little things before we dip off. Give me one sec. Recommended books on dynamics of cancer. There's Janeway's Immunology, I think, which should be fine. Tell us about the up-to-date regimen for rheumatoid arthritis. I'll see. I don't think that... Are you thinking in regards to me injecting one of the merchants with that stuff? Because that wasn't for rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, one sec. I just need to pee. I need a piss. Bath guy, you can contact me on my business email. It's on the link in my YouTube. There's no way you heard me fucking peeing. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I know that shit was muted. I know that shit was muted. Okay, can we end this on actually a good note? Because there's been way too much shit that's actually very serious. Weird question, but when you allegedly took meth, can you disclose what you were you working on? I'll just tell you. We had a presentation we had to do for neuroimmunopsychology, which is a real mouthful. We did not finish that shit at all. And somebody went up to me and said, well, one of my team members went up, Seth, we don't have anything done. It's up to you. And he gave me like, I think 3 tabs of Adderall. And this is before I got medicated. This is actually the event that made me convinced that I might actually have ADHD because of how powerful I became. I did not sleep for 2 days straight. I finished that entire presentation. It was amazing. Originally, somebody said, like, this could not be submitted as material because there was no way that it could be, like, accepted because it was just, like, a complete acid trip of a presentation. But our resident psychiatrist, who was actually one of the lecturers for the course, was like, no, this is brilliant. Pass them all. It was fun. Yeah, it was it was a great time. Okay. Can I just show you like the cool stuff that I've actually been very happy has started working? I've got one of my boys has been telling me for ages to do this. I wanted to re-review Might and Magic 6 because Paul Anthony Romero was so nice to me and gave me recordings. But I found something really cool. And a big thanks to Fonk for doing this.
3DO.
So you know what these guys did? They made a merge of Might and Magic 6, 7, and 8 on the Might and Magic 8 engine. It's actually amazing. It's actually fucking amazing. I'll just show you like how it starts. You can either choose the world of Might and Magic 6, 7, or 8. Now here's the crazy thing. At some point in the story, they've put coding in that you can actually jump between the different worlds. And it is amazing.
They came from the depths of the void.
And look at this shit.
I will battle.
They imported as many portraits as they could from the different games. This shit is actually amazing.
What could go wrong?
Oh, it's not related to the story? You just need town portal? Okay, I gotcha. Like, look at this. It's running in the native Might and Magic 8 engine. It is so fucking smooth. It is so fucking fast. Well, I'm re-reviewing Might and Magic 6 because the first one was not very good. Plus, it was before I even did this full time. Look at these fucking bakers. Join me. It's actually wonderful. Okay, let me
Yes.
It actually scales with the resolution. So you know what? It's fucking running natively at 1080p. It is actually beautiful. I've got some games in other locations. So essentially, you can start in any of the worlds, and you can choose to have like one party member, or you can choose to like have multiples, and you can of course still recruit people. This is it's honestly amazing. I can't complain about a single thing here. Is it very loud? I'm very sorry. I'll try and put it down a little bit. I need to check what's happening on the stream. Very good. Plus, it was before I even did this full time. Oh, it is wonderful. Put it to max. I also remembered one thing that I played a bunch back in the day. I don't know if anybody ever stumbled on this shit before. Right, I'll try. It shows me which side I pirated. Yeah, I'll try and put it up. I don't know if anybody fucking played this. This is a game that randomly licensed an entire band, and it's how you fucking find out about the band. They didn't even get paid much for it. It's like free promotion. And you get so many little different portraits. This is what happens when your hands are all jittery. This is Jets and Guns. This is such an old ass game. Look how many goddamn great portraits you get. I'm just gonna go for the black one. It's either that or Chinaman. Ricer. You get some story and shit like that. I'll try and show you the first mission. You can buy a bunch of stuff. We're just gonna go for max money. Oh yeah, you can outfit your shit, and you also get different. You also get different stuff. I'm very sorry. How loud is this? Is this a little bit better? Is this a little bit better? I hope this is a little bit better. I think I'll try and give you an example of how this game looks. I'm probably just gonna fail on the first level. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, this game has a very topical theme. We're working for eco-fascists in this first mission. So, as eco-fascism goes, we have to kill people because we're just doing too much pollution. This game is so goddamn janky, there is actually a level where you kill cancer cells. Unfortunately, I am very much out of practice. I swear to God, people say music too loud. What else do I have? Unfortunately, I am also completely pooped in terms of my energy. I think there is a good way to end this stream, though. And that is, you know how we left off in Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy? I think we need to do the basketball match, and I think that'll be a very fitting end for this stream. Whoa, Hentai 2 is a piece of shit. It's actually, do you know what it is? It's like rearrange a jigsaw. That's it. Yeah, we gotta play b-ball. Gotta represent my man Tyler. Someone in chat will be like, yeah, I geolocated the presses of everything on this keyboard. I know exactly what his password is. Yeah. By the way, Wireframe, that is the original Bakery Girl. Analyze the waveform of that typing. Oh, you know Fahrenheit's a good-ass game when that shit crashes on you. I'm in the Matrix. I know his password. Feedpick6969. Oral cum shot? Really? I think, oh, wait, whoops. Select. Did we put this volume very low? Just please let me know if like stuff actually is audible. Height. We need to... This is the most important part.
I'd worked good and hard on the investigation, done everything Carla had asked. Now I just wanted to relax and play some b-ball. And also settle a little score I had with Jeffrey.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna make fun of this fucking white boy. Because it's the end of a world.
Right. Okay, here's the rules. First to score 10 points wins the game and $200. That cool for you?
You can kiss your money goodbye.
We'll see.
Time to
Let's
get
do
skinned,
it.
white boy.
Since I'm such a good sport, you start with the ball.
Oh, fuck. Get fucked, Jeffrey. Get fucked, Jeffrey. They call him Magic Jeffrey. The only magic he has is losing.
Yes! Now that was pure poetry in motion.
My man Tyler no longer anxious. Go fuck yourself, Jeffrey. If you fail this sequence, I actually think Tyler can have a mental breakdown and die. Should be stressful. Well, he wants to pay you because he thinks he can get his money back plus more. Now that is the silly thing about Jeffrey. My man Jeffrey, where were you at back in the Epstein Manor?
The more I see you play, Jeffrey, the more I think you should take up chess.
White boys only know how to move pawns. I don't know, Jeffrey, you dress like a fucking queen. You gonna pay for slavery, Jeffrey. I can feel that money slip out of his fucking pocket. By the way, canonically, Jeffrey commits suicide after this. It's okay. I'm sorry, Jeffrey, but an entire lifetime of SSRIs is what awaits you. Fuck out of here, string bean. Oh no!
He hits the lane, he drives in, he scores! Ladies and gentlemen, that's our play of the day! Yo, you D up pretty good for a white cop.
You ain't so bad yourself. You got some game.
Maybe I should have mentioned, I did some ball at college. So, as for the 100, it's game over, man.
You're a real SOB, Tyler.
I know, and that's why you like me, Jeffrey.
What a quality ass game. Oh no, 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 no. What the fuck is this? Sorry, I just want to check what the fuck this is. I think this is when my man Lucas gets fucking attacked in church. I'm just gonna fail all of this. Don't worry about it. Time to get beaten by God.
And that's how my story ends. Officially, they called it a suicide. I'd never find out the truth about what really happened to me in that restaurant on that cold January night. I'd never know who it was that killed me.
Oh man. What the hell is the... What the hell is the sequences? Movies. We will probably not have time for it in this stream, but we will probably maybe have time to do Fahrenheit in its entirety later on. I don't know. This is when you go into a Chinese bookstore to research. What do you mean, no cash? This is the bonus shit, man. This is the bonus shit that doesn't actually play. Like they just included this in the game. I just can't believe I don't have these sequences. Do I have to unlock these? Where's my chapters? I'm gonna try to see if we can do the Neo shit. I don't know. Oh man. Without saving. Oh wait, let me just check one thing. Let me just check one thing. Yeah, did I mention this game gets fucking crazy? I want to just check. Oh man, yeah, I have to do these acid trips. What the fuck? I'm very sorry. We will find all of that later on. Oh, I mean, he did make Detroit become human. Anyhow, I will not spend more of your time because it's been a while and it's been a lot longer than I actually expected. So I'm gonna terminate this in the best way possible. Please take care. And I will review Jagged Alliance 2. I don't know about more streams. I am actually not the most comfortable man with doing streams, but it has been enjoyable. Take care, man. Stay cool. And have a good one. Please take care of yourselves.